Live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to a beautiful and sunny Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands. It is a lovely day here. There's not a cloud in the sky and the slightest of breezes to keep us cool. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari here this afternoon. Behind the camera we have Morgan, and we are really looking forward to see what this afternoon has in store for us. I think it's going to be a beautiful hot day, and I think that there might be quite a few things around, especially near the water holes and drainage lines. But we love to hear what you have to think, so please, if you have any questions or comments, send them in to us. You can find them at #WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on YouTube. If you're under the age of 18, you can also pop us an email on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Or you can register on the WildEarth website. Head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. We are really looking forward to hearing from you and hearing what you have to say this afternoon. So my plan is to bumble around a bit this afternoon, see if there are maybe any elephants around, and possibly later on as it gets cooler, we can have a look if there are any of the predators, particularly leopards. I've got a lucky feeling for leopards today. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to head on down towards the drainage line and start my day off there, having a look if there is anything looking for some shade. I think it is going to be a wonderful afternoon, and I think we're all very excited to see what we have to find this afternoon. A lot of birds out already, but you can imagine with 25-degree heat, I think a lot of the animals are going to be in the shade for now. Today would actually be an excellent day to see some elephants mud wallowing, and that's what I would do if I was an elephant. Alright, so while I carry on down towards the first little drainage line to check there and then onto a dam, let's have a look at what the weather is doing in our different locations.
It is lovely to have beautiful blazing sunshine this afternoon. I'm one of those that loves the warm weather, so sometimes the warmer the better, especially at this time of the year when it's so dry and you get a lot of animals coming to water because of how hot it is. Anyway, my name is Tristan. On camera I've got Impor, and it is wonderful to have you all along for the ride this afternoon. Hopefully it's going to be a productive one. There's a few murmurings and reports of things happening around us, so we're going to try and see if we can get lucky. All three of the reports that I got of things that we would all like to see in the form of leopard and lions are in touch and go signal areas. So we'll see how we go, but it's going to be interesting if we get them on camera. I don't know if we'll be able to get all of them, but let's see if we can try at least get some of them. Now, I'm just on Aubrey's Road at the moment, slowly heading northwards. I'm going to check up towards sort of Baobab Dam area just in case those two ellie bulls, those big elephant bulls, are lurking again, the ones that we had this morning on the show. I'm sure they've gone for water, so maybe if I can find somewhere there where we can park high up and view them, be nice. Failing that, we're going to try and see if we can find Tavangumi. I think Tessa's going to try more to the east for Mareeps. Wendy, yes, mosquitoes, lots of them. Not so much in the bush, but in the camp. They're everywhere. Get in the car in the mornings and they come out. It's not as bad as the height of summer, but they certainly are around. So yeah, there is mosquitoes. Other than that, no, not really. None of the major ones yet. So not a lot of ticks yet, or any sign of flies. The biting flies are not back yet. We're not seeing many shield bugs or assassin beetles, butterflies. All of that stuff will only come really with the first major rains. Once we have those, then we'll start to actually pick up a lot more insects, and pretty quickly as well. See tracks for these ellies, or at least one elephant coming down the road. Could very well be them. They were up this side, so it could be that the one bull just came down. In fact, there's two here. But let's just see. They're definitely heading in the southerly direction. The thing is, though, is there's Jenna tracks on top here. So that could be tracks then from yesterday. Remember, Jennets are active at night, so when you see their tracks on top, then you know full well that there's no, it's not from today. No Jennet would have run on top of this during the course of today. I'm just going slowly, you know, now because of the heat, a lot of the animals will be just in underneath some shady spots. So we'll hopefully catch any leopard or anything like that that might be lying under the shade. I don't think we're going to see too much movement of the cats right now. I expect them all to be pretty stationary, just waiting out the heat, and then they'll start to get moving a little bit later. So, you know, it's only 3:40 now, South African time. So it's still fairly warm, but that wind has picked up again. It's crazy how much wind we've had the last few days. Alright, let's carry on further northwards and see what else we can find. Hopefully we'll get some luck with either these ellies or Tavangumi.
Yes, I definitely agree with Tristan. I think the cats are going to be hiding away from the heat at the moment, but it is a brilliant day for elephants to be coming down. So hopefully sticking around the drainage lines and some of the water holes will bring us some luck this afternoon. I think especially now as it gets closer to 3 o'clock. From then on it gets cooler and cooler as we go. So then I think that's going to be the luckiest time. But for now, it's actually amazing to see how the landscape is changing. It feels like it's been overnight. I know it's been a few days, but everything's starting to go nice and green. And it's going to look so incredible once the grass has started going greener as well. For now, pretty much what I'm looking out for is just any movement. Any signs of movement through the tall grass or even in the distance. I think it's going to be a great day for birding too, so I think I'm going to try and spend as much time as I can doing that as well. Seems like with this change in greenery, with everything starting to bloom, it looks like everyone, big and small, is starting to come out in force. Very happy about the seasonal change. can imagine for the animals that have kind of gone through the long winter. I know elephants in particular are still struggling because it is still dry, but animals having gone through the dry part of winter are really looking for some relief in the greenery and some more water coming through.
Three buffalo bulls following on from a herd that just drank at Ndlovu Dam here at the eco-training camp. These old boys are just enjoying a bit of solitude away from all the hustle and bustle of the big herd. They'll probably follow on. Won't be going too far from the water, I suspect. They'll stay close by where they can get shade and cool water and probably some green food as well. Hi everyone, my name's Mike Anderson, behind the camera is BK, and this is Eco Training's Pride Lands Conservancy, where we're going to spend the day on this nice hot and sunny sun this afternoon. It's about 27 degrees centigrade, so it's wonderfully warm. And I think there's going to be a little bit of action at the Waterhole today. If the morning has been anything to go by, there's already been a herd of elephants, a herd of buffalo, and now these buffalo bulls, as well as impala and a whole host of other plains game like kudu. So this is our plan for the afternoon. Let's just hang out here. What do you think? Sounds like a good plan? I think it sounds like a good plan. These buffaloes are staying in the sun. They've got dark fur, so they will warm up quickly in the sun, which means that any parasites that might be on their body, ticks and fleas and the like, will probably jump ship onto that hot sand and disappear. The buffaloes have already probably wallowed. I can see at least one of them has wallowed, which means he's now got himself a nice sunscreen, protecting him not only from the harsh African sun, but also from those biting insects. If you've ever spent time with a buffalo herd, you'll know they're usually followed by swarms of flies and other creatures. Right, so we are going to, as I said, stick around at the Waterhole. And at this very hole, you might find yourself enjoying the treats that Pride Lands has to offer. So please don't forget to sign up for the WildEarth Explorers, and this is what you could win.
If you are a WildEarth Explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Absolutely incredible opportunity for our explorers. I can't imagine anything better than being on foot and learning so much. So I'm actually sitting with a massive male elephant just on the edge of the dry riverbed on the drainage line. And he is doing exactly what we predicted, at the moment hiding his face a little bit. But you can see he's found the only big patch of shade that there is next to the drainage line there. And so he is just trying to keep himself cool in the shade. Every now and then he's picking up some sand from the drainage line and throwing it on himself, but for the most part just standing in the shade and flapping his ears. Every now and then he also looks like he wants to rest, and he pushes his head against the tree with his tusks on either side. But at the moment it seems like he is just more focused on flapping those ears to stay cool. You can see his tail also has not stopped moving, and that's because now that it's such a clear day, the insects have come out in full force. And I can imagine they must be quite frustrating when you are so big and have so much surface area for them to land on. You can just see the white of his tusk there. His tusks aren't massive. They are fairly big, but not huge. So I wouldn't say this is a particularly old male yet. I think he's still got a lot more growing to do. He might actually be resting at the moment, just kind of with his rib cage against the tree. You can see he's definitely resting the one back foot. All that weight that he has to distribute between those 4 big feet, they must get tired at some point if he can't lie down. So he's definitely decided he's a bit camera shy this afternoon, hiding his face. And you'll notice that he's not actively feeding. He's not really picking up plants to put into his mouth. Sibongile, yes, this elephant is definitely big enough to knock the tree over. He's strong enough as well. So what he would probably do is push his forehead against the tree with his tusks on either side, and then he'll just keep pushing, and if he needs to, he rocks himself a little bit backwards and forwards as he's pushing, and then the tree will go crashing down. But it's interesting, elephants will only really push down trees if they're looking for maybe the fresh shoots or fruits at the top. They don't push down every big tree that they see, so he wouldn't necessarily push this tree down for nothing. I have seen bulls in a rage that for whatever reason are unhappy, and they push down trees as though it's a warpath. They push trees over for the fun of it, don't even feed and walk away, but most of the time they do it for a reason. And I don't think he wants to push this tree over because it's so hot today that he's very grateful for that shade. You can also see, there is quite a bit of greenery starting to come up, and that tree in particular has a beautiful canopy of leaves. And so it's actually more beneficial for him to keep that one standing for now. Have a look at that canopy. It is one of the fullest canopies around here. And so it's definitely more beneficial for him to be just standing in the shade. He's actually started kind of just throwing some dust up onto his side. Calvin, elephant diseases, I mean, there probably aren't many that would get to an elephant, I wouldn't think. I certainly haven't heard of any in the last while, unless my rusty memory is just failing me. But it wouldn't be like buffaloes that get bovine tuberculosis, or lions that also get TB from buffaloes or anything like that. The biggest threat to elephants is actually people. So no, I wouldn't think that they would have a large amount of diseases to be worrying about. Certainly looks like his biggest worry is just kind of occasionally throwing sand up and staying cool. So this would be the best way for this elephant to conserve energy, because you can see with the tail constantly moving, with the ears moving, most movement he'll do is just moving that trunk on top of it, and then occasionally shifting his position of his feet, because on a hot day like today he's spending a lot of energy just trying to stay cool. And so what he needs to do is make sure that he doesn't spend too much more that's going to heat him up. I wonder what he's smelling. Yeah, his trunk is resting on his head and then up on the tree. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if he is smelling us. There was also a giraffe in the area earlier, so maybe he's just smelling that too. he is big enough that he doesn't have an awful lot else to worry about. So I'm actually very close to the dam. I'm really hoping that this elephant bull decides to come down and splash himself with some mud instead of just a dust bath like he's doing at the moment. But I'm going to head on down there and just see if there's anything else around. Maybe there might be more ellies in the area.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice daily live safaris from Africa, we launch Sea Forest. Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
Civilized to just found some black rhino tracks, a mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. They're somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're gonna walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Right, so I am just arriving at Twin Dams, just to have a look if there is anything fresh around the area. I'm actually going to stop here in the shade, just so we can have a look. So it's perfectly between the dam and the drainage line. So two really good areas on a hot day for animals to be hiding out. And there is nothing there on the drainage line. Let me give you a look of the dam. So that elephant is probably 50 meters north of the dam, so it's definitely not far from the dam at all. So this is most likely his next stop, although from the way he was standing, I don't think it will be in the next 10 minutes or so. I think he's going to wait for it to cool down a lot more. But one thing that there are a lot of today is terrapins. It seems there are a lot of terrapins in the water. You can kind of just see them floating just below the surface. And every now and then you'll see the little head pop up, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of them in one little patch. That's quite crazy. Seems that there are quite a few birds out calling at the moment as well, which is great during the heat. And our pair of Egyptian geese are also here, but they're standing off at a distance. So every time you're at a waterhole, especially on a hot day, it's a really good idea to listen, to watch, because you'll pick up on movements through the brush, but you'll also pick up on sounds. See, our Egyptian geese aren't too worried about any predators at the moment. They are just preening themselves in the sun. Isaac, you're 7 years old and you want to know what terrapins eat. So it actually depends on the species. Most terrapins, though, will eat things like small fish, insects, anything like that that they can get their little beak onto. They've actually got a little beak at the front of their mouth. But they can also eat things like water plants and those sorts of things. Most of the time, though, you'll find they have a bit of a variety in their diet between the water plants and things like small fish and little bits of meat. Terrapins can actually move quite a lot faster than a tortoise, which would be the land version. And that's because they need to be able to strike at prey. So their neck in particular is very flexible and very fast. And it's almost like a spring-loaded mechanism. When they see something, they shoot it forward like a chameleon's tongue. They grab the prey and then they bring it back towards their shell and eat it. Just a little tip of the nose sticking out. You can hear some hornbills in the distance that are chatting to each other. Strong legend, yes. Waterholes are actually quite notorious for conflict in animals, and that's because you've got animals that will be in the water and out of the water, so things like crocodiles versus any of the herbivores. But also the watering holes, especially in the dry seasons, they have to be frequented by pretty much every single animal. And so you can imagine at some point or another, animals are going to come across each other at a watering hole. And it can be conflict between herbivores, so things like giraffes fighting at a watering hole. It can be between elephants or elephant herds, where they are in competition for the water as well. It can also be between slightly different species. I've seen elephants chasing buffaloes, rhinos, all sorts of animals, warthogs even, away from watering holes. And then there's the more, I wouldn't say serious, but the more well-known conflicts, like things like predators and prey, both at a watering hole, or even predators against each other. Unfortunately for animals in the winter times in particular, when there isn't enough rain and the water holes start to dry up, everybody has to come down to the same watering holes. That is, unfortunate for animals. It does help us a little bit in terms of finding animals, because if there's only a few water sources, animals have to move further to find them. So you're much more likely to find tracks or bump into an animal. But at the same time, you know that if you check the watering holes every day in the winter months, at some point there is going to be something fresh that you can use to find those animals. Unfortunately for the herbivores, that means that the predators use the exact same tactics. So water holes can be very notorious for conflict in winter months. In the summer, when there's lots of rain, it means that, even small mud wallows will fill up. Somewhere where an elephant has left tracks in the mud will fill up with water, and that will serve a lot of the smaller animals. So animals can spread out a lot more and the conflict will be a lot less. So it will definitely change seasonally. Even the birds have stopped calling all of a sudden. Oh, no, there they are. You can see from the position that I'm in at the moment, this is a great place to look for elephants or any other animals that are coming down, because you probably find they come out at the top end of the dam there as opposed to the dam wall. They'll have more escape options from there. But while I continue on and leave these terrapins behind, let's go over to Tristan, who's enjoying some birding.
Oh, we've got an accipiter that's sitting in the tree. I know it's far and I know it's difficult to see, but I need somebody to take a screenshot of it and then have a look and see if you can kind of get me an eye color, because it's just that far that I can't see nicely. The size looks too big for a shikra, but it's got a yellow cere and yellow legs, and if it's got a darkish brown red eye, then this is a bird I'm not sure we've ever had on camera before, which is called a Vombo sparrowhawk. But I haven't seen many of them in the Sabi Sands. In fact, very, very few. So I can't see nicely. If it's got a yellow eye, then it's an African goshawk. It's around that size. So I'm just trying to check which one it is. The shikras are a little bit smaller than this. This bird is a little big for one of those. And I'm scared to try go closer because I don't want it to fly. But maybe some of you, like I say, you guys can get a screenshot and clean it up a little bit and see what we get. The tail just doesn't look barred enough for a Vombo sparrowhawk, but I can't see nicely. It's, like I say, just too far away. Also got a branch kind of completely over its eye in my angle, but I can see on the camera that its eye is visible. Is that eye cherry red? Or is it like a red-brown? It's the only problem with birding in midday, and it's so bright you can't see it a lot of the time. Be super exciting. I don't know if we've ever had an Vombo sparrowhawk on WildEarth. Be interesting. There's two that were seen mating in the Sabi Sands this week, right down in the south of the reserve, and I've seen them on lion sands before. Like I say, it just looks too big for a shikra. Shikra are small birds. It's all very exciting. I love to do when you get little bird issues like this. It always makes things super exciting. So yeah, shikra is a full 10 centimeters smaller than their Vombo. I want to get closer so I can see that tail better. It's a typical kind of place that Vombos like to sit, in these dead marulas like this. This is all the times that I've seen them. It's been exactly like this. But it could very well be. I mean, it's a little far even for size perception. Now, I'm not one to normally try go off-road or anything like that for raptors, because generally they move, but it would be nice just to try and see if we could get that little bit closer. It was right next to the road, and I only spotted it too late, and then it flew off onto that marula there. Let's try and see if we can just get a little closer. There's like a little track here, and I'm wondering if it'll let me. Even if we can just close the distance by 15 meters, will be a big help. No, there it goes. Okay, let's see where it flies to. I just want to just try and track it with my binos. It's definitely yellow legs and yellow cere. That's going way too far now. But that's a big accipiter. Long tail as well. Oh, indeterminate. Unfortunately, with the heat haze and everything else, don't know if we can actually call that bird. But That eye just doesn't look cherry red either. I don't know, guys. I'm going to leave this one up to you guys to see what you think. Those of you that are big birders out there. Just that little far to really check properly. Whew, it would be a big bird if we had a November sparrowhawk here. I'd be super excited. The last one I saw was in 2012, so it gives you an idea of how infrequently we see them. Right, well, let's head down that way. You never know, maybe I'll find it again, but it looked like it flew way, 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 way away. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Mike with the buffalo that are making their way towards a dam.
Buffaloes have done a 180. They were heading towards the camp. Now they've turned around and they are heading back sort of in an easterly direction towards the other side of the dam wall. Maybe to go and feed in the shade. Maybe to find some cool area to rest. I'm not sure. This one just kind of now turning back the other way. Goodness gracious me, making an absolute mockery of the situation. I've just said you're heading east. Can you please turn back and go the other way? And he's just having a scratch again. Very important to scratch. Got to get all the different angles. These buffaloes are all mature and in their prime. So this one here that you're looking at the moment is, yeah, a big, strong bull. You can see he's got big, strong muscles. There's no hip bones showing. Smooth muscle all over the body. It's in really, really fantastic condition. And his horns are still sharp. A real formidable animal. The lion pride has been around the area. We heard them calling this morning. Quite distant though, but he will not go down easily. Very formidable animal. Now he's actually scratching his leg on that stump. Oh, a big yawn there. It's been a hot day, I suppose. And when you're so big and so strong, why not take the opportunity to rest whenever you feel like it? No one's going to tell you otherwise. Goodness gracious. Goodness me, I know there was a question, but our comms broke up there. If you could please repeat that, would be wonderful. Oh, there's a kingfisher now hovering in the sky just above the dam. I don't know if you'll be able to spot that, BK. That's really awesome. Bryder, they absolutely do sneeze. I've seen buffalo sneezing a few times. So we just saw that one yawning a moment ago, but they certainly can sneeze. I mean, think about it. They're eating grass right down, especially now it's so dusty. All that kingfisher's flying all over the place. But Bryder, all that dust goes up their nose, and once in a while you hear a big old buffalo sneeze. And then sometimes it gives the other buffaloes a big fright around them, and they all kind of run around and be a bit crazy for a moment. And sometimes the sneeze actually helps us to know where they are, because we don't want to bump into a buffalo too close. Oh. I'd like to hear a big old buffalo sneeze. That reminds me of a story once. We were watching, I can't remember what, I think it was elephants on a game drive, and we were looking for lions and we couldn't find them at all. And then whilst we were watching these elephants, we heard this huge old sneeze coming from a bush right next to the car. And there my tracking partner at the time looked into the bushes, and there was a big male lion snoozing not 5 meters from us. A sneeze gave it away.
No sign of our sparrowhawk, whichever one it was, goshawk or sparrowhawk. I mean, Didn't look like an African goshawk to me, didn't have that yellow eye and size, but, you know, like I say, too far to call it, and like I said, I'll leave it at the ball in your court, so can't 100% confirm. Sometimes with exhibitors it's like that. In all the excitement of seeing that a Vombo, or not a Vombo, I forgot to tell you guys that I found Tavangumi just now. But we don't have signal, so we're going to have to wait and send somebody else there, see if he moves, then we'll try again a little bit later. So now, we're just going to bumble and see what we can get. We'll go past some waterholes, we'll just take a very chilled afternoon bumble around probably the western sector. Yeah, and see, like I say, unfortunately also the Talamati Pride, sorry, they're on Simambili, but it's so touch and go, and it seems like Wendy's got a bit of an issue at the moment, so I don't want to go far and have no signal. So we're just going to have to, unfortunately, wait until maybe tomorrow for them to come, or even this evening. You know, they often get up and just walk straight from where they are now along the fire break and cross into Djuma nice and late. So let's hope that that's going to be the case. And we'll pick them up a little bit later. Oh, it's nice to have some heat again. Wearing all these layers and things is not for me. So I think what we'll do is we'll go past Gallagher Pan. Hello, Impalas. And then once we go past Gallagher, we'll then go down towards Skari and then across towards Trias later. The only problem with bright sunshine is at this time of the day is tracking. It's very difficult to can't see nicely. Alright, so I'm going to carry on towards the waterholes. Let's see if we pick up anything. Hopefully there'll be some ellies somewhere in the area. Well, we're just on our way towards Gallagher Pan. To go and see if there's anything lurking there. Unfortunately, we can't find that exhibitor again, so I'm not going to call it either or. Like I say, it's just too far, too poor quality to determine exactly. I just didn't see those white outer tail feathers that you see on this Vombo sparrowhawks. They have these like little vertical bars on the edges of their tail that you can sometimes pick up, but you know, each bird is different, depends on the molts. It's not easy, so I don't know. Also, unfortunately, we located Tavangumi. He was lying up very close to Baobab Dam and in a drainage line there, just sleeping, and looks like very full-bellied. So I don't know if there's a kill there, and we tried from all directions, up, down, high, and just couldn't get signal. So what we'll do is we'll go back later when the other vehicles are out and they can keep us updated. If he just comes out that drainage line slightly up the hill, we'll be all right. But if he's got a kill there, then we've got no chance, I'm afraid. Which is very, very sad, and it was actually thanks to Michelle, who's the general manager here at Djuma. He managed to actually spot him during the day and said he was in that area, and we went there and kind of looked, couldn't find him where he was, and then went up the drainage line a little bit, and then he's lying in underneath a big jackalberry. I couldn't see a kill in the tree, but he was panting heavily and very full-bellied, so I wonder if there isn't something in that vicinity. So Gallagher Pan looks like a bust. Doesn't look like anything is here. Now, while our waterhole is very quiet and not much going on, Mike seems like his is busy, so let's send you across to him.
So strange. 3 warthogs just came down to the water's edge. One of them is now wallowing, but a buffalo came and literally went to exactly where they were drinking and just pushed them right off. But that's so cute. The one wallowing there, look at that. It's really getting stuck into that mud there. It's a big male warthog. Getting the mud there. Just like the buffalo, it doesn't have much fur on its body, so it needs to wallow in order to protect itself from biting insects and the sun. Oh, that looks so nice. Sometimes I wish social conventions would allow me to do the same on these hot days. Oh my goodness, another second one getting in there. Much smaller, but also a male, it looks like. Oh yeah, that's nice. Shame 2 warthogs went one way, and the other one went the other, and now it's left by itself far away from the mud. Oh, and they might just lie there for a few minutes, actually, cooling off. I can't wait until... Oh, here comes a third warthog. He's muscling his way in there. I don't care about the buffalo. I want my mud. I actually wonder if this warthog's getting into the mud is going to incite the buffaloes to do the same. Well, look at those 2 warthogs. They're just having a little snout rubbing. It's social. They're not fighting or anything, but could be that that younger warthog is quite keen to have a bit of a joust. They do fight for territory, although these 2 don't look like they're having a fight. Malvik, I think they are exactly the color of the soil. So their skin is a grey color. Oh, those 2 are definitely pushing each other. Look at that. That's cool. Oh, man, I haven't seen warthogs having a bit of a fight for a while. That's great. They're the color of whatever the soil is. So here the soil is very pale, the dust anyway, so the warthogs look a light grey-brown color, but their normal skin color is quite a dark grey. If you see some images of warthogs and elephants in Etosha National Park in Namibia, sometimes they look chalk white because of the very, very pale calcrete or calcium-rich soils. In other areas of, let's say, KwaZulu-Natal, where Phinda is, some of the soils there are very dark in color, so you'll find the warthogs are almost black. Oh, there's a 4th warthog. No, I'm sorry. There is a 4th warthog. There's another one coming down from the back. That looks like it could be a few. There's a 5 warthogs. Hey, this is a warthog convention. See the one at the back there, BK, coming past the old water trough. That looks like a female coming past where the Egyptian goose is. Oh, watch out. Watch out. The boys are in town. Never know how they'll react to a lovely lady. So this one approaching us behind that Egyptian goose there, you can see it's got some white fur on its chin. I don't know if you saw that on the jawline there. It's not easy to see. But that fur is very prominent when they're young. And that fur, supposedly, it is believed that it's supposed to look like little tusks, or quite large tusks actually. So from a distance, a predator might think that it's armed with much larger tusks than it has and might avoid a conflict. All these warthogs are just living their absolute best life, wallowing in the mud and having a bit of a jousting session, especially now that the female is getting there. I'll send you over to Tristan whilst they get stuck in.
Well, Mike, you're always welcome to go and live your best life with the warthogs. I'm pretty sure you can just take Jonty's tutorial on how to do so, and you'll be able to go and wallow and do all the things with the piggies. Kind of have fun with them. Anyway, we check Gallagher Pan, nothing there. Coming around towards Gowrie Dam, nothing here. And that's how it goes sometimes. I was hoping with this heat we'd get a few ellies kind of coming down. Lots of pumped water in this area, so nice fresh water for them to drink. But, you know, it's the way it goes, and not always you're going to have the things that you think you'll have. And maybe they'll only arrive a little bit later. Let's just go slowly across the dam wall here. It's a good place behind the dam wall to find all kinds of weird and wonderful things. I see a herd of ellies was here today at some point. There's tracks for them across the dam wall. So just going slowly, just checking in all the shady spots in case young Shasha is around. Although, you know, he hasn't been around this section a lot actually. We haven't seen him on the dam cam. We haven't picked him up at the dam or even tracks coming in this direction. The last tracks of him were yesterday on Chitwa going southwards towards Jackie's, or Annette's as we call it. So I don't know if maybe he's gone into Mala Mala. He does go that way. There's a slender mongoose there, but it's disappearing behind the bush, unfortunately, as they normally do. Alright, so I think from here, let's meander kind of south in the Muluwati a little bit, and then if there's nothing there, what we'll do is we'll check westwards. We might just go into Simambili just a little bit and then kind of check all the western roads of Djuma as it starts to cool down. No tracks here. I expect because it's been cold and out today is quite warm, a lot of the animals will just be still kind of getting used to it again and be in the shade. So anywhere where we've got big shady trees is going to be a good solid place to spend time. I think in under the quarries and jackalberries of the Muluwati is going to be good to check. Not a lot of shade anywhere else at the moment. You know, the marulas don't have leaves, and even the knob thorns are pretty leafless at the moment. Tambuetis, it's really just the quarries and the jackalberries that are actually providing some semblance of shade out here. Is 4 years old. I've just spoken about it. I've just told you. I think they're hiding in the shade. They're along the riverbeds, probably, or anywhere like that. Is a perfect example. There's a kudu that is lying in the shade and sleeping and trying to get out of the hot sun. It's only us silly humans that are driving around under the most ridiculously warm sun at this time of the day. The rest of the animals know what they're doing, and rather than dehydrating and getting very, very hot, they're going to find a nice shady spot like this kudu. And you know, if the kudu are lying down, then most of the cats will be doing the exact same. They are not going to be wanting to be in this heat, just like the kudu doesn't want to be. So lie in shade, wait for it to cool down. We know that this kind of heat in the afternoon doesn't last long, especially tonight. I mean today, you know, we've had cooler weather, so once that sun just gets down a little bit, I would say 45 minutes time, then you're going to find that things are going to become a lot easier and a lot more a lot cooler, and then things will start to be a lot more active. It's very warm when you're stationary in the sun itself, and you know, animals that have fur, you can imagine how much warmer it must be. It's like putting on a jersey and then going into the sunshine. It's not very pleasant. So you'll find that they try and kind of find a nice shady spot. Alright, well, we'll probably leave our kudus to themselves and carry on bumbling. Let's see what else is lurking along the Muluwati.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the Wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the Waterhole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we're still just slowly moving along the edges of the Mulawati. I'm hoping that we're going to get sort of some view of eddies just flapping their ears along here. There's definitely was tracks on the dam wall for them. So I don't know if any of you were watching the dam camp today and actually saw them, what time that was. But I'm sure they're somewhere in this drainage line. If not here, maybe the Gari cut line drainage. It's a lot quite cool in there as well. Bit of a nightmare for us, that drainage line. It's very, very dense, very, very thick, and not great from a kind of viewing point of view. So I'm not sure we'll have much luck, but if we don't see anything along here, maybe I'll just go around that side just to double check. Talking of double checking, I think it's hyena track, but let's just make sure. Yeah, hyena track. Always lots of those around every day. Right, so because Wendy's having a little moment and technical difficulties, I feel like it's a good time to ask you guys if you have any in-depth questions that we can talk about. Always like things that lead to other questions and in-depth topics. So I know a lot of you sometimes have things that might seem a very technical, scientific or something like that. So don't forget you can fire those in and we'll try and kind of create a discussion about it. I always find the best questions on this is the ones that create long discussions that everybody can bounce off of. So not just myself, but Tessa and Mike. It's always good when we've got that kind of ability. So I know a lot of you always ask about weird and wonderful things with dynamics, and that's always a nice long conversation to have. Ooh, Dexter. Loaded question this. Also, I might just turn around quickly because we're going to lose signal through this. If I don't, I'll take the other road. So, Dexter, most interesting insect. Whew. The insect world is diverse and incredibly beautiful. I love insects. I think they're the most fascinating little creatures, and I love the way that they are diverse. I would probably have to say termites and ants would be my two that I really, really, really enjoy. The complexities of that social structure, and sorry, I just got something in my eye. The complexities of that social structure and the way that they go about life and the buildings that they make, particularly the termites, and how there's different functions for different members of the group, and how working together makes everything kind of go well. They're probably the most fascinating for me. Long-lived insects and like I say, huge social hierarchies that they have. Sorry guys, I know I'm not really focused, but there's something in my eye which is highly irritating. You know when you get something and it just starts scratching with every... Alright, I'm gonna try and just sort this out. In the meantime though, let's send you across to Mike at the dam.
Oh no, I'm so sorry about Tristan's eye. I hope it's nothing major. I know what it's like, driving around and something gets all up in there. It's not so great. Anyway, I'm sure he'll survive. We've still got a buffalo. Only one buffalo left, the lone survivor, the last one standing. There's always got to be one who sticks it out as long as possible. But now making his way... Oh, there was a monkey that followed him. That was so interesting. So that buffalo just went down, and you can just see the dust. Look, there comes a monkey following right behind. I thought that would happen. You know, I saw one monkey disappearing, and I said, I wonder if that monkey is going to go and play with the buffalo. And it did. He literally was following behind the buffalo. That's so cool. Monkeys are cheeky little things. Can you see it there, BK? Yep. That's so awesome. So, as you can see, I'm very comfortable, very relaxed here at the dam. We decided to just kind of sit in the shade nearby and just see what came down. Oh, just me. I think it's probably sitting right now at around about 26 or 27 degrees Celsius, which is, let me think about it, double that plus 30. So that would be around about 83, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Goodness, you might have to help me, just me. But yes, probably about 26, 27 degrees centigrade right now. So not unbearably warm, but after the last few days of cold weather we've had, it's really pleasant actually. And it's hot enough that if you're standing in the sun, you'll definitely want to be getting some water. And it just brings so much more activity around the waterholes. I mean, I can't wait. We've still got maybe 2 months of this dry weather, this hot weather heating up every single day. And the hotter it gets, the more animals will come to the water. And I'm hoping that we'll start to see those wonderful scenes we had last year of 79 degrees Fahrenheit. I was a little off, but hey, it's close enough. I've been told, thank you so much. 79 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, that's pleasant, right? I think you can all imagine that at home. With a very light breeze, bringing a nice cool breeze actually. But yes, we're hoping that we'll have those scenes that we had last time, where there were 30, 40 elephants in the dam the whole day. Not a moment without an elephant. Not a moment without an animal of some sort at the dam. I mean, today's been great. We've had the buffalo herd this morning come to the dam. We've had elephants come to the dam. Monkeys, warthogs, impalas, kudus. We saw a giraffe earlier, although it's quite far. It could be making its way as well. If one watching the kingfisher. I don't know, can you still see the kingfisher, BK? I think it's flown off. It's sitting there, but it's very difficult to describe where it is on that leadwood. See, so monkeys do swim, although not very often. They don't like to swim. For example, here they wouldn't swim. I mean, there's no reason for them to swim, and the water could be quite dangerous for them. But in places like the Okavango Delta, and they have to cross small channels, they will go into the water, and they're actually pretty proficient swimmers. I've seen a very wonderful video on the internet. It's a place where you can find all sorts of cool things. Of monkeys, I think it's maybe it's somewhere in South Africa, and vervet monkeys are literally jumping off a table into a swimming pool, and then like swimming to the edge, climbing out, getting back onto the table, and jumping back into the swimming pool. So they do enjoy it. If it's hot and they know it's safe, they will go into water. They certainly will. So Tristan is still working on his eye, making sure that he's all right, probably washing it out with a bit of water, making sure he's okay. So you're going to stick with us a bit longer. Sorry, BK, your arms are going to fall off. but we're enjoying having you, so thanks for sticking with us. As you can see, there's the kingfisher. Can you see it there, BK? Just hovering. Oh, it's going into the water. Swatch. Oh, it didn't catch anything. It's gone back up. It's going to go again. Oh no, it's disappearing. Okay, never mind. We're going to, from that bird that was fishing, we'll send you to some other birds that also like to do fishing. We'll show you our penguin promo.
I'm certainly very excited to see the new penguin show. I think it's going to be amazing. I love penguins. I'll have to organize to go and see them sometime. So I'm actually bumbling along the eastern boundary. This is the cheetah cut line. And I'm hoping for any fresh predator tracks. But this is actually a particularly good area for elephants and giraffes as well. Now that the breeze has picked up, it is quite a bit cooler than it was, so I'm hoping that means animals might start moving around. I'm actually headed towards a waterhole right at the top of this cut line, just to see if there's been any traffic through there during the day. There's a lot of zebra tracks in the road. I'd be very happy to see a zebra. Ooh, I wonder if we'll get that. Let's give it a go. There's a lilac-breasted roller that's busy hunting. No, it's gone. Is it gonna land? Yes, it's landing. So it's actually just picked something up. We're in the fire break. And it's just picked up an insect and flown off to a higher perch. Looks like it's going to fly again. Maybe it's seen another insect. Most noticeable though in this light is actually that white streak above the eye. And gone. Always a lovely bird to see, especially in the spring. All those beautiful bright colors. Looks like a bit of a rainbow bird. So the fire break is actually particularly good, especially in hot weather like right now, for insects. And that's because when it's heated up, the insects are a lot more active. And in open areas like this, it means that they'll be moving across the sand looking for food. And then at the same time, the roller will actually be hunting. It'll be perched up above, and then it'll swoop down and catch something as it comes up into the fire break. So there are quite a lot of hyena tracks out. Jean, there are a few interesting tree fungi in this area. Probably the most interesting is something called a bracket fungus. It looks like little steps that go up a tree, and almost like a half mushroom if you cut a mushroom in half, but very flat. And they grow in kind of steps up the trees, and they actually help the birds, which is really cool, because what it does is it kind of softens the tree a little bit, and then what the birds can do is they can make a hole into the tree quite easily for any of the hole nesting birds like woodpeckers or starlings as well, nest in hollowed out sections of a tree, not in an actual cup nest. So that's probably my favorite one, just because it looks so different, and it's kind of like you've cut a mushroom in half and then layered it up in steps, getting bigger and bigger up the tree. If I find one, I'll have to show you. So if anything, I think this hot weather is actually going to be an advantage today. Maybe not to see active predators, but for everything else, it's going to be a massive advantage. Lots of birds active, lots of the smaller antelopes active. The elephants are going to be wanting to look for water. Buffaloes as well. And with all of those things moving, leopards are so sensitive to temperature changes and the environment that it will hopefully entice them into coming out later as well. Right, I'm going to carry on down towards the dam, but I'm going to send you over to Tristan, see what he's up to.
Well, I mean, I did have 2 steenbok that were sitting here, and then, of course, you know how things work. As soon as they kind of decide they're going to come to us to show said steenbok, they run away. So now you're just looking at a very dry, very hot landscape with very little that is alive in it since they've disappeared. Well, let me put you out of your misery so that you don't have to keep showing said dry landscape with barrenness and nothing to look at. Instead, you can just show the back of my head. Or I can turn around and you can see that my eye is okay now as well, by the way. I managed to get out whatever it is that was in there. It's just like a scratching feeling. So it could have been an insect, it could have been a piece of bark, it could have been anything. A wise person said to me once that I should just squish it if it's an insect and then it will stop scratching. The problem with that is I'm pretty sure that will lead to an eye infection of some sort, or, well, just an insect pooping in your eye, which is really not going to be ideal. No one likes insect poop in the eye, nor do I want formic acid or any sort of insect part broken off inside there. I've had my fair share of insects in my eye. Sometimes they can last for a while. I've had one be in there for a couple of days, which is never nice. It was a bit awkward, I must be honest. You get to a point where it would like nestle and just sit there for a while and then it'll be fine, and then all of a sudden the eyeball moving, it would then like turn or something and then start scratching your eyeball again. It was most irritating. And I'm one of those that, I don't know why, I have this thing where I can't like go gently on myself. If it's in there or like a thorn or something like that, it must be pried out at all costs. It doesn't matter how deep or how much irritation it causes. So normally I rub my eye to the point that I look like I've poured pure chlorine into them. They become so red, which is really not very good at all. Also, a note for my own self is don't pour a glass of water pre-segment. I'm busy trying to balance water at the moment, and I've got ice cold water now running down my leg, which is, you know, nice little wake-up call. It certainly has the ability to wake up when it gets into your shoe as well. Weird place, but it's true. All right. Come on, animals, something, somewhere, somehow. I'm so sad that we don't have signal with Tavangumi. I was so looking forward to spending the afternoon with him. He's such a beautiful cat that I really, really have a soft spot for him. His overall demeanor and his looks are pretty epic, so it would be really nice to have spent time with him, but it is what it is. There's not much we can do about it. Hopefully he'll eventually decide to wake up and move into an area that we can view him a little bit later. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bumble a little bit and just let you guys enjoy the view and silence as we bumble along. I mean, I know you'll hear the vehicle running, but it'll be like you're on a game drive. And you won't have to hear me droning on as we go. kind of hoping that we're actually going to find some ellies here. I'm going to just quickly check Spaghetti Junction. They often like to be down there, just on the backside of the drainage where all the big trees are. My glass of water is going to be empty by the end of this. So much of it has spilt already. Anyway, here's what it is. Like I say, it can be just part and parcel of cooling down this afternoon. I'm sure the ellies would love a cold water splash. I think they would get like the same as what we do, is where we get like hyperventilating or hyperventilated when we get cold water splashed on us. It's just like, you know, when you kind of arch your back and I wonder if elephants would be the same. Alrighty, come on ellies, show your face. There's such perfect condition for them. It's hot, it's dry, they should theoretically be out this afternoon. Okay, I'm going to check down in the Malawati here and just have a look. Like I say, hoping that I'll pick up those flapping ears somewhere along this area.
Welcome back to my bumble along the drainage line. So I am still looking for pretty much any signs of movement. So far there's a lot of butterflies, there's a lot of birds, a lot of impala tracks, a lot of old elephant dung, which is expected. You can actually feel at the moment, this is an incredibly sheltered drainage line. There's no wind coming through. So it's an advantage and a disadvantage for me right now. The advantage is it might mean animals are down in the drainage line trying to get some shade. The disadvantage is they might actually just go to somewhere that there's a little bit more of a breeze, maybe higher up the drainage line or up on a crest where there might be some shade. At this point, while it's still so hot, I'm sure the animals are hiding. Vinny Jr., that road is probably called Cheetah Cut Line because I guess there's a property close by called Cheetah Plains. And so that's probably why it's called Cheetah Cut Line. They've probably had some decent cheetah sightings on that cut line too, though. But most of the roads that you'll find around here are either named after the properties that they border with, like Buffelshoek Cut Line because it borders with Buffelshoek, or Cheetah Cut Line because at some point it probably borders with Cheetah Plains. And then others you might find, like this is called Ngala Road North, and then there's Ngala Road South, which is just over the next junction. There's a lot of Nyalas that frequent this drainage line, so it could be because of that. I certainly hope there have been some very epic cheetah sightings on Cheetah Cut Line. I haven't been lucky enough to see a cheetah yet while I've been here. It's not the best terrain for them because this is more leopard dominant territory. And cheetahs, being the smallest and the weakest of the cats, definitely can't compete with the high density of leopards or lions. So this is now Ngala Road South. And this is Central Road because it cuts through the center of the property. Zanele, the most overlooked animal in the wild. I would say probably an impala, or yeah, actually an impala. And that's because there are so many of them, especially here in the Kruger National Park. There's a massive amount of impalas, and there's herds pretty much everywhere that you go. So I think people almost start, you see them once or twice and you get really excited, and then a lot of people start overlooking them, so they drive past them. But some of my best sightings in my life have been just sitting with a herd of impalas, because at some point there's going to be a predator or something that comes along and there's going to be an interaction, because impalas are the main prey species out here for all the predators. So I would say impalas are the most overlooked. They are still absolutely beautiful to look at, and there's interesting dynamics that happen with them as is, you know, within the harem system, within males fighting in the rutting season and the little lambs when they come up. Some of the smaller antelopes like steenbok and duiker, I would say maybe a close second or third, but they're a lot smaller and they look different, so people tend to find them cute, if that makes sense, and so people are more likely to stop for those because they're smaller with giant ears, as opposed to impalas, which are in these big herds everywhere. Probably the most common animal to see, but yet still the most overlooked. That being said, I've just said impalas are some of the most common animals, if not the most common, and I haven't seen one in a while. Maybe they are hiding somewhere in the shade. So just like I am, I'm going to send you over to Tristan to see what he's up to on his bumble while he's hoping that animals will come out.
Well, here we are, also bumbling, Tessa, and hopefully between the two of us we'll get something. In a quiet couple drives on Djuma, but things can change rapidly, so I'm not too worried about it, and actually just enjoying bumbling this afternoon. It feels like I'm at peace today, so just enjoying being in the wild. It's sometimes nice just to be out here, and you don't always have to see everything for it to be an epic day. Just the sun shining, the lack of wind, and you know, good company in the form of impo makes life worth living, so all good. Just in regards to what Tessa's kind of conversation about overlooked animals, I think, you know, overlooked and underappreciated are probably two different categories. So like underappreciated would be something like impalas. Overlooked for me personally would be things that are there but not seen or not easily seen. So what immediately comes to mind would be snakes. Snakes are often right there, you just overlook them because they kind of hide and not easily visible, and sometimes that's just what happens. And then all of your smaller mammal species, so bats, gerbils, shrews, those are all overlooked little creatures, I think personally. They kind of, you know, people don't really come out here and ever be like, you know, I'd really like to see a gerbil or a bat. Even though they're here and they're important parts of the ecosystem, they don't always get the attention they probably deserve. It's also due to the fact that they're near impossible to find, and when you do find them, it's normally because they are bolting for their life over the road away from you, but that's besides the point. I think that most people just don't come out here with that frame of mind of like, oh, you know, that's here and I want to see it. So I think everybody comes with a slightly different frame of mind. Okay. Let's actually track these elephants properly now. I believe they were at the dam at 1 o'clock. Thank you very much, Elise. I got your update. It looks like they're cutting into the Gari cutline drainage like I thought they might. Also, I saw, Elise, you said that sparrowhawk or hawk didn't have the white barred edges to it. So then, I mean, like I say, it just felt a bit big, but then the most obvious one would be the shikra, because it definitely had a reddish tinge to the eye. There wasn't yellow in that eye at all. So shikra would be then my guess, but a very large shikra at that. I don't think it was anything else. The harriers would be, slightly different shape, different flight pattern to what we saw, because you do get Montagues and pallid harrier as well. Also not the right place for either of those. Both those birds like open grassland area. So if you go down to Londolozi, Singita, Savannah, there's a big gabbro intrusion and grassland that grows there, and you get the pallids and the Montagues down that side. Tracks for these ellies cut over that drainage and go in here. So I want to check, there's also tracks for giraffe as well going in this drainage. But like I say, this drainage is a problem because it's navigable until about where I am now. From here, you've got to then cut into the block and you move away. The elephants themselves can just carry on traveling up. So I'll go up a little bit further just to see if I can find them. If nothing, then I'll turn back and start heading towards Twin and Treehouse Dam.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pigeal gland is something the hoopoes have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with the cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I love being a cam up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Well, no sign of these ellies in the drainage line as far as I can go. So let's go back and just head towards the dam itself and see if maybe there's still one or two stragglers. But most of the tracks look like they went in and nothing coming back out again. So, it is what it is. I can't, like I say, I can't drive in there. And the block on the other side of this is big. There's a long way until the next road. So There's no point in even going around at this stage. The Ellies can't be that far if they were at the dam at 1 o'clock. It's not that long ago. Unfortunately. Also, signal on that side is like the black hole. There's none. Mandy, that's probably, I would say the cats probably thrive the most, and dogs during the season. The reason why is that as it gets drier and the food quality gets worse, so all the prey animals get weaker and slower and easier to catch. So I think you'd find that the drier it is, generally the better lion, leopard, cheetah, wild dog do, even hyenas actually. So yeah, I would say that, and especially now as we're starting to go into this period where these female impalas are so heavily pregnant, the cats are getting hold of them pretty regularly, and dogs will be even worse. The dogs are super efficient at grabbing anything that's slightly slow. So yeah, I would say the predators, that's not necessarily at all. Sorry.
Right, so I am still driving along down the riverbed, and I am looking for animals, and I can actually see a glimpse of a giraffe's spotted neck. So I'm going to see if I can get that for you. It looks like it's in quite a thick area, but you can imagine perfect here on the edge of the riverbank where it's nice and shady. Here we go. Beautiful big giraffe male. And that is actually the exact same tree the elephant was standing under earlier, resting his head on. You can see his colors. Compare the colors on his neck to the colors on his back at the moment, the difference between light and shade. And it shows you how important it is for an animal's camouflage to be able to adapt. So in the shade, he's a lot more difficult to spot, and that's because the sun is not reflecting and picking up the light patches. And you can see there how golden he looks in this light. So he's looking a little bit alert, looking around to make sure that there is nothing else close by. In fact, there is an elephant close by, and I think that might be what he heard, and so he turned around just to make sure. I've always thought giraffes look like they're moving in slow motion. So this giraffe is definitely looking for a combination of shade, which the tall trees in this area provide, but also the greenery growing along the edges. Milo, you're 12 years old and you want to know how much a giraffe eats in a day. In a kilogram value, I actually would not know. I know that giraffes spend most of the day walking around feeding, and most of the night they'll actually be lying down and resting, so they won't feed over the night, and that's because they have to regurgitate their food in order to digest it. But what I can do is actually try and find out for you, Milo, and I can try and let you know if there is a kilogram value to that. I would imagine it would be quite difficult to measure with a giraffe, so things like elephants and lions have been better studied in terms of what they eat and how much they eat in a day. But essentially he would be walking around feeding on leaves throughout the day. So he's found himself the perfect combination there. He's found some fresh greenery right in the middle of that bush, but enough shade that he's not getting too hot. But what you might see happening is, as his kind of tongue is coming up there and he's grabbing those leaves, you might find he'll actually move off from that tree very soon, because the tree now knows that it's being eaten, and so it can send a lot of pheromones out, which other trees will pick up and will cause all of them, including the one that is being fed on or predated on by the giraffe, it will cause those trees to turn their leaves bitter. They send things like tannins up to the leaves. Milo, it seems like a giraffe can eat up to about 75 pounds of food in a day, so that's just over 30 kilograms of food in a day. So you and I both learned something new today, which is awesome. Alright, so while he feeds here, I'm going to keep watching him for a little and see if the elephants come any closer, and I'll send you over to Tristan.
While the giraffe is feeding, we found possibly one of my absolute favorite birds when it comes to watching them and their behavior, little green-backed heron. A lot of you that have watched the show for a while will know that I absolutely love these birds. Not my favorite bird, but they are one of them. I just love the way that they go about their business. I find them highly entertaining to watch. The way that they stalk and kind of move, I always say this reminds me of a leopard, and the way it stalks and it goes about its business. So, watching them, sometimes it feels like a little bit like paint drying because they stand so dead still. But if they're active and they're properly hunting, they can be an absolute joy to watch. They kind of move along the fringes like this, sit dead still, and they kind of load themselves with this neck that is pulled right in, but under tension. And as soon as something comes past, then they just fire it out, grab it, and then eat it. But the other thing that they do, which is so interesting, is that they're one of the birds out here that is able to bait the prey that they are going after. So sometimes you'll find they'll catch something like a little grasshopper or an insect, and they'll actually place it on the water, and as the fish come in to eat it, they then obviously grab the fish. So they're not after the insect, they're after the fish that will eat the insect, which I find absolutely fascinating. They're amazing little creatures with that, and they've been documented to do it with bread as well. So in places where people feed birds bread, which, please, if you are in a place and you want to feed a bird, don't feed it bread, please. It's not part of their diet. There's all kinds of things in there that they shouldn't be eating, so rather don't do that. They're not supposed to be eating that, especially things like herons. But anyway, they've been documented to use bread, where they take the bread and put it on the surface, and as the fish come in to feed on it, they then grab them, which shows an intelligence that we don't always give birds credit for. A lot of the time we think we as people are far more intelligent than everything else out here, but the fact that there's a bird that's worked that out just shows that nature itself is pretty adept at finding its own way. This particular one doesn't look as though it's like active in its stalking process. Also, it's not stalking in a nice place. You can see the wind is blowing from the northeast, and that's pushing the scum layer of the water into this corner. Now, there might be a reason why it's fishing in that, is that often fish will try and find any sort of cover. So if there's a slight little layer on the surface that they feel they can hide under, or any sort of little vegetation, which you can see in the foreground in front of that heron, then they will go and lie in that and swim around that, particularly the size of fish that this heron is after. This thing is not after massive, 10 kilogram catfish. It's after small, tiny little fry, so little baby fish that are moving around. And I know I think it was a few days ago, somebody was asking Tessa how many species of fish we have in Djuma. We don't actually know yet, but I know Yuri, who's the owner of the land here, has been trying to do a bit of a fish study of late to try and sample the fish that we've got in the dams. But we should have at least 5 or 6 different species in these dams, which I'll get into a little bit later. Anyway, it sounds like Mike's got something interesting on walk, so let's send you across to him.
we've got something really cool. It's the first time I've ever seen something like this before. So what you're looking at, we're in the eco-training camp now. One of the students told us about this hole in a tree which is inhabited by a baboon spider, and that is something quite unusual. Baboon spiders normally live in cavities excavated in the ground. So I just want to actually show you, just gently, very gently, using the very softest tip of this piece of grass, the baboon spider in there. Just very gently. Can you see it coming out? It's trying to remove the grass from its hole. So I'm not gonna bother it any further, but that is incredible, and this is much bigger than it looks. I got such a huge fright a moment ago when I just thought, I can't possibly be a baboon spider living in there, and I sort of gently put the stick on the outside, and it came out so quickly to investigate what was going on. So that is something quite unique and unusual. I've never seen a baboon spider living in a tree before. When it first came out, BK almost leapt to his death.
There's something on my neck. Can you just check it?
There's something on BK's neck. It is a tiny spider. It's a jumping spider. Hold on, I'm going to grab it. And maybe I can show you that one. Oh no, it's jumped off you. You're okay, BK. I'm sure. BK's got the heebie-jeebies from this baboon spider. Show you one more time for those of you who've never actually gotten a chance to see a baboon spider before. It's crazy, right? Look at this baboon spider. You can just see its legs there. Now, at night, the baboon spider will sit very close to the entrance. So if you zoom out just slightly there, BK, do you see that there's a bit of web on the outside here? Yeah. Just here where the grass is. So at night, the baboon spider will be sitting right close to the edge of the opening here. And as an insect comes and crawls over this little bit of web, it's not sticky, it doesn't get caught. It just sends a vibration to the spider so that it knows that there's something here and will leap out and grab whatever it is and take it back into its little burrow there. How incredible is that? It's a first for me. In 10 years in the bush, never before seen that. So I hope you all enjoyed that.
So this is Mrs. Wig, I believe. This is her nest that she uses time and time again. I'm just sitting watching her snooze at the moment. Still down in the drainage line, and she is still sitting exactly where I left her this morning. You can just see the light on the tip of her ear tuft there. So she's definitely found a nice cool spot so she doesn't overheat on our hot days here. Have a look at how she's resting her head on her kind of shoulder blade on her back. Can see how she's really cleared around the nest there, moved all of the debris out of that little hollow. You can see all the dead leaves and twigs around the outside in a semicircle around her. It's very peaceful down here, just a few birds calling in the background, so it's no wonder she chose such a lovely spot for her nest. And it's no wonder she keeps coming back to it. It's so lovely to know that she's here and that I can come and check on her every day from now on. Just see how she's doing. I wonder how long she's been sitting on these eggs. Hopefully I get to see a chick before I leave. She is absolutely beautiful.
we're still with our little heron. Like I say, I've got patience for these guys for a number of hours. You can honestly sit and watch them for a long time. So we're still with, and look at how gently he places his feet. Doesn't that remind you of a leopard? I don't know why it does, but it does for me. It's like the whole movement of this bird. It's often low to the ground. It's kind of very, very methodical about the way that it places its feet. It's got this slow, steady ambush stalk that leopards have, and I don't know, it just reminds me of them in so many ways. It's like the little leopard bird. Chitwa Dam is the best for them. They're so active there, especially when that little overflow is running. I remember when, hello Rhett's helmet strikes. And hear the Rhett's helmet strikes calling behind me. Especially when we had the big rains this year, we had that little overflow running, and it was like watching these guys clubbing seals, which is not a nice thing actually. It's a terrible phrase that I think we should ban that phrase, to be honest. But it was like fish in a barrel, essentially. They were just being washed over the spillway, and it was very shallow water. There was nowhere to hide, and they were able to just kind of come in and grab all of them. It was impressive to watch between the greenbacked herons and the marsh sandpipers. It was just, poor fish had very little chance of getting anywhere. But I was saying just now, we're talking about fish species. So what should be in this, typically in this kind of water point, will be catfish. So barbel is what we call them in South Africa, but it's sharp-toothed catfish is the name. Then we should get potentially, there can be 3 different bream species, but most of the time you get your Mozambican tilapia or your 3-spot bream. It can come through in these areas, mostly the Mozambican tilapia. They get a very dark black when they're breeding in the males, very pretty fish. And then you'll get a whole series of small little barbs and minnows that come through. Now, that's quite variable across the different areas, and it really depends on what feeds those water points. If you go down towards the Sand River, then your diversity is much, much larger. In there, you'll even get little tigerfish, a thing called, you'll even get little things called imberies, which look like baby tigerfish. Super cool little thing. So yeah, there's quite a number of different fish species. I remember actually when I was training at Singita, we once went out and did a whole bunch of kind of fish surveys. It was very interesting to see the diversity of fish and try and figure out what everything was. It's such a easily overlooked part of our ecosystem. We're so focused out here on mammals and birds, and I suppose even frogs get more attention than what the fish do, as well as aquatic insects. That's another thing that's very interesting, particularly in the Sand River. There's a number of actually snails, funnily enough, that are in there that shouldn't be in there. They're invasive, which was only found out due to a guy by the name of Lee Guttridge. He's a very, very, very good guide and has extensive amounts of knowledge and has written a number of books, particularly on track and sign. And he was doing sample surveys on snails and came up with a whole bunch of snail species. Well, not a whole bunch, but there was 2 in particular that are highly invasive that was in the Sand River, which is not a good thing. It's a worry when you start to see those things. So yeah, those smaller aquatic organisms like fish and freshwater mussels and crabs and snails and all these kinds of things are, I think, something that we so easily overlook out here, but yet are so integral to this environment. Because if you think of fish, just think of how many predators we've seen eating fish in this reserve. I mean, we've seen leopard going after them. I've seen hyena eat them. I've seen lions eat them once or twice before. Multiple bird species, even the other fish themselves are feeding on them. So, it's one of those animals that is vitally important to keeping the ecosystem running and for us to see certain animals out here. And, we don't get the water birds like a number of other places, unfortunately. It's one of the biggest kind of downsides of this area is we don't have a flowing river. A flowing river brings about so much in the way of bird life. You get things like finfoots and crakes and, all kinds of different little lapwings and plovers and sandpipers and all that stuff, which is really cool to see. So, you know, we have a lot of other good things, but it would be nice to have those. All right, well, we're going to sit with our, probably actually leave our heron because it's not really hunting very effectively, and go and see what else we can find. But in the meantime, let's send you across to Tessa, who's back with the wigs.
So Mrs. Wig is still sitting on her nest, exactly where she was this morning. And it is very obvious to me why she keeps coming back here. It's probably the coolest that I have felt all afternoon. There's a slight breeze, and it's really nice and protected from the hot sun. You can see the sun is just behind there, but she's chosen a position where she's got cover pretty much all around her except on the eastern side. And that's where the sun rises, so that's perfect. It's there to warm her up in the morning. You can see it's on a bit of a cliff face. And so she's very well protected from the wind, she's well protected from the sun, and she's got just enough open space in front of her that when the sun is up in the morning, it'll keep her nice and warm. So I definitely understand this concept of coming back to this nest every single year. I can't wait to see if there are any chicks or if they're still eggs yet. So I'll have to keep coming to check on Mrs. Wig every day. I can't say that I will serenade her like James did. Might not be that that confident there. But it's definitely wonderful to be sitting with her. Otis, there are a number of different owl species that you would find here. You would probably find this, which is the spotted eagle owl. You'd probably also find the Verreaux's eagle owl, which are the two biggest species here. You'd also find the African scops owl and the pearl-spotted owlet, which are two of the smaller ones here. But let me just have a look. I would also say African barred owlet you would find here, so that's 5. Southern white-faced owl, 6. Western barn owl, if you're very lucky, 7. African grass owl, possibly. I have actually seen one of those in this area of the Kruger Park. 8. Maybe an African wood owl, 9. Marsh owl, 10. So there are quite a few different owl species that you would find here. Pretty much, I think the only one that you would struggle to see here would maybe be the Pell's fishing owl and the Cape eagle owl, those two. Cape eagle owl is much more prominent in the Cape, so Western Cape and slightly up the eastern coastline. And the Pell's fishing owl is very specialized because it eats mostly fish. So 1, 2, let me double check my counting, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 possible species. I'd say the most common though that you would see would be this, the spotted eagle owl, African scops owl, pearl spotted owlet, and maybe an African barred owlet. The others you'd be quite lucky to see. I have been very, very lucky with pearl spotted owlets, African scops owls, and Verreaux's eagle owls. And I can definitely say that Mrs. Wig has allowed me to get closer to a spotted eagle owl than I ever have before. I think we are sitting about 4 meters away from her. Just now I was even closer, and we've just repositioned. So I'm definitely feeling very, very lucky on the owl front today. You can see she's actually started resting her beak now and her head just on her shoulder blade and her back. So it's only really when she hears something that she lifts her head a little bit. But it actually looks very comfortable up there and very, very well camouflaged. I actually noticed earlier when she was moving her head a little bit, She has got quite a few little feathers in that nest just to soften it a little bit, but they're actually behind her. And I've noticed in the grass as well, in the surrounding banks, that there are quite a few soft feathers here too, just stuck to the grass. So she's definitely been rearranging the nest a little bit. But very, very interesting to be able to sit with her. I know the male is close by as well. But I'll probably leave her now to her afternoon nap.
RSA has a long history, over 90 years, of being involved and even pioneering aspects of the conservation sector in South Africa. Over that long history, we have realized that all of the issues that we are facing both locally and globally are due to human impact. Therefore, we need to concentrate on working with people, and that is what WESA does. What makes me passionate about the work that we do at WESA, and in particular the work that I engage in, is actually connecting with people. Currently the work that I'm working on is working with youth in a skills development program, and just to meet the youth and to hear their stories and to bring them opportunities that we hope will have some impact on their lives really, really fuels me to get up every morning. A huge shout out to the women that I work with, as well as to all the women that are contributing hugely within the environmental sector, both in South Africa and in the world.
The scrap here collected a dry grass, put it next to the waterhole as the hippo walks down during the warm of the day to drink the water. When the hippo arrives, he saw quite a very nice grass, an area not to resist to rest. And when the hippo went down to drink the water, and when finished the water, he just lied down on the grass. And then, that was the opportunity of the scrappy. You know what? Today is my day to pay the revenge.
Well, we've found Djuma's little migration, which is the wildebeest that hang around on Djuma. They've been here for the last couple of days. It's been nice to see them back again. This is the big bull that is hanging off on the edge of the rest of them. And most of these females should be pregnant by now. In fact, they're all pregnant. They'll give birth around December. So you won't see as big a swelling in them just yet. They're not normally as early as the impalas. The impalas normally come first. But you can see a slight bulge in the bellies. Growing of the little ones is starting to take place. And if you ever want to see a birth at Djuma, these are the guys. If you're here in December, follow them around enough and you have a very, very, very good chance of getting lucky. We've had a number of births from these guys over the years that we've gotten live. Quite possibly one of my most amazing sightings was of a female that, I can't even remember how long it was, but it felt like forever. I think it was close to 3 hours of her from the hooves sticking out to her actually giving birth. It was a pretty insane morning. I remember we followed her around and she was trying, and she must have been a first-time mother because they often struggle when it's their first time. But eventually this little one popped out and took its first breaths, and it was a pretty incredible experience to follow her and see her struggling and up and down, and you could see the contractions, you could see the little hooves sticking out, and eventually this little one popped out and was part of the herd. And I mean, it could very well be one of these individuals that you're seeing right now. Once it got past a certain point, it was near impossible to identify. So it could be one of these. I'd like to think that it's one of them that's still around and hasn't unfortunately been had its life ended by one of our predators. The wildebeest of the Sabi Sands don't particularly thrive out here. It's not the best habitat for them, and with the number of predators that we have, we lose quite a lot pretty early on. Now, you guys might notice a little fence in the background. That's the fence of Waterhole camp. So it's not like these guys are in a little pen that we just come along and our animals are all kept together. This is how things are. Is that because Djuma, and obviously until the end of the year, has always been family camps, having little children and kids running around. It means that you can't have open camps, otherwise you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble, and things are going to unfortunately lead to a sad situation. So having these little Kenya fences is what they're called, stops for the most part, stops things like hippo and buffalo and elephants and the odd cat getting in. We know that dark mane and others have still been able to cross that. Oscar, not really. They separate a little bit, but it's not far. So they'll go maybe 30 meters, 40 meters from the rest of the herd and give birth. They still stay within touch of the herd itself, because otherwise, if they get completely separated, the chances of being able to, being hunted is very real. They're in a very compromised position when they're giving birth. So if they can stay at least close enough that the herd almost provides a safety blanket, well, that's a big thing. So you'll find with these guys that they generally try and keep quite close to one another. But they're looking in fantastic condition. Generally, they're another one of the animals that will give us an indication if things are not going well. So they've obviously fed well this year and everything looks good. Just been watching, there's a bull giraffe that's to our left here, and he keeps just staring dead straight into the bush next to us here. So I just want to check. Giraffe are often good indicators of something being around. He's just changed direction now, but he's been maybe half an hour, or maybe even more, that we've been around watching that heron and these guys just been looking straight in the same direction. So I want to go up there and quickly have a little scratch and see if maybe, just maybe, there's something lurking in that area. It's a weird place because really, theoretically, the only things that would hang around in this area would be lions or wild dogs. Leopards very seldom, but I have seen Thandi and Tlalamba both walk where that giraffe is staring at the moment. He's moving now, so it can't be anything too serious. Maybe it's just the staff at Timbeta busy with something. It's our big male that's got the leg injury, so I'll just go around and get a better view of him and stop here. In the meantime, though, you can take a look if you join the Explorers Club. Potentially, you can go and join Mike at Pridelands and see what they get up to on that side.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
You probably don't know what you're looking at right now, but it's something super cool. And if you win that Pridelands Prize promo, the Pridelands Prize, if you sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer, you've got until the 16th of October to win. Sign up, get there, and you could do exactly what I'm about to do, and you could smell the scent mark of a civet. A civet was here, that animal that has a beautiful coat, fluffy with spots all over it, comes out at night. We have them around the camp often. And if you just... I tell you what, it's probably the most wonderful fragrance you will ever experience in your life. I'm not even joking. Honey and flowers, like the most beautiful summer flowers that you could think of. I mean, it's springtime now, and it just smells so wonderful. So this civet has everted its anal pouch, smeared a greasy secretion on here from its anal cavity, and surprisingly, it smells like honey and flowers. I mean, could you imagine? I really like it, and it's probably quite weird. I should probably not do that on TV anymore. But I really think it's cool, so please sign up, win the prize, and you could do the same thing. I don't know if that's going to help or hinder our chances of people signing up, but anyway, something else I want to show you. BK, I don't know if it's going to work. I just got the absolute life scared out of me by a funnel web spider. So come around this side here, BK. That's a net that you just saw in the background there. Oh! BK almost just died. Okay, you're right there. Look in there, BK. Do you see there's a little funnel web? Oh, there. Do you see that funnel web?
Oh, I see it.
Okay, try and zoom in there. Focus on the entrance. I'm going to just tickle the outside and see if the spider will come out. Okay, I'll give you a moment. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's see if it comes out. Oh my goodness, did you see that?
That's what.
Oh my word. That is a funnel web spider, and it was enticed by the very soft grass that I just tickled on the outside. I don't think it'll do it again. They're quite secretive. Oh, I did it again. Oh, that's scary. That is a funnel web spider. Not dangerous to us, but deadly if there was a small insect like a fly or something that landed there, attracted to the beautiful fragrance of this civet scent mark. Isn't that amazing how nature just works? I think nature is amazing. And now there's another creature that's just over here. There's that spiny sugar ant that I keep talking about every time we see one. I always want to point them out because I just think they're so cool. They're so relaxed. Oh, he's just hiding on the other side of the stick now. Man, nature, you beautiful. Stop being so cool. I can't believe that funnel web came out 3 times. It must be hungry. Anyway, we're going to leave this little scent rubbing post. I've smelt it enough and been terrified of that spider enough times, so we'll leave it for now and we'll send you over to one of the other locations.
Sounds like a very entertaining afternoon for Mike. I can't remember the last time I saw a baboon spider, or a funnel web spider, or a trapdoor spider. They are very cool. So I am actually still just bumbling around. I am headed to check a few of the different dams actually, just because it is cooling off a little bit now. So it might be the lucky time that something comes down to drink. But it has been a great day so far. It's actually a great tactic that a lot of animals use is trying to get a spider out of its hole. Apes, I guess, gorillas and chimpanzees were some of the first to use tools to get insects out of holes and arachnids out of holes. Very, very interesting to watch. I haven't seen many spiders while I've been here, but I have seen scorpions, so that's quite cool. It's now at the beautiful temperature where it's just perfect with the wind and the sun. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. The perfect time, hopefully, for animals to be coming out. We will see.
We're still with our giraffe, and we figured out why it's staring is there's another giraffe that's around, and that always piques the interest of a boy, especially if it's a girl giraffe. And is it a girl giraffe or a young male giraffe? Looks like a young boy. But that's what he's watching coming down the hill. It's not the one that I thought it was. We've got so many dark giraffe at the moment. It's lots of males around. I thought it was the one that's got this nasty leg wound, which we see every now and then, but it doesn't look like him. I can't see it. It's on the left leg, I think. Yes, left leg, if I remember correctly. So, I thought it would be him. I saw him yesterday. Must have been yesterday, close to the dam. So I just figured that maybe it was him still sticking around. Sometimes what you find with these giraffe is that they actually hang around the area for a few days, and then all of a sudden they decide that's it, and they're up and gone. But I suppose we do have a lot of them around at the moment. You can't always just expect them to be the same ones. He really is giving the other one the beady eye at the moment. I don't know why. It's not like there's a female around that could potentially cause boys to get a little upset with one another. And we know that these guys generally have a very, very loose social structure. So they typically are pretty kind of open to others joining and moving around in the same area as themselves. So that's why it's weird that he keeps watching that other one with such intent. I wish it had been a leopard that had been watching. That would have been very, very cool. Tavo, what do I think is the most surprising characteristic of a giraffe? Probably their social structure. I think a lot of people think that giraffe, because of their size and their build and those kind of things, will hold territory, which is, as we know, not the case. They are animals with home ranges, so they don't do the territorial thing. They just roam around to wherever they can find food. And then I think that the way that the social structure works and how they're completely indifferent to having territorial situations, and females don't worry about other females joining or males. It's all just pretty much all over the place, and everybody joins in any way that they can, and then changes any way that they feel as well. So I think that's probably the most surprising. They really do have the loosest social structure of all of our animals out here. Just when you think you've kind of seen it all, and then these guys show up and just change the dynamic, because most animals will have some sort of semblance of social structure, or in the mammal world at least. But these guys really just don't. Everything is pretty loosely organized. Definitely not enjoying this other one. I wonder if they'll start to neck or go after one another. Like I said, that normally happens when there is another giraffe a female giraffe in the vicinity that is worth fighting for. They do play neck every now and then, where one will kind of come up to the other, and while it's not playing, it's to establish and to practice for dominance in a mating situation later on. And so it's strengthening of the neck and just getting them into good condition. But that's, like I say, normally triggered by females being around. In this case, there's none of that, so I'm surprised that he's looking so intensely at the other one. It's a beautiful giraffe, though. Nice dark black markings. Nice also to see them kind of towering over the landscape, with that sort of behind it and into the eastern parts of the reserve. It's pretty crazy to think from here where we're sitting right now in the direction that we're looking, if you had to travel all that way past the giraffe, you would eventually end up in Mozambique. And between here and there is pretty much wilderness the whole way. Even when you get into Mozambique, in the southern parts of the Kruger, it's not very far from Maputo Special Reserve, which is a beautiful wilderness area, and they're doing a lot of work there to try and get that back in good condition. Lots of elephants that have been relocated there, and various other animals as well, and starting to really take shape. From somebody that I was speaking to the other day, they were saying it's really starting to look a lot better, and wildlife is certainly starting to flourish there again, which is good to hear, because Mozambique was trapped in civil war for a long time, and unfortunately what funded civil war was a lot of the animals that lived there, because, well, you can feed soldiers with it, as well as the commodity that is something like an elephant with tusks allows them to be killed and sold on the black market, and then can be ammunition and firearms and that kind of stuff that can be bought in order to fund that war. So it's a long history of that within the African continent, where wildlife unfortunately has suffered at the hands of people, particularly in war-torn areas. No, they don't feed on grass. It's a long way down. And if you watch a giraffe drink, they have to spread their legs and they have to bend over. And when they do that, it means that they're very vulnerable. So what vulnerable means is that they are open to being attacked by lion, particularly, and even hyenas. And so they don't like being down there for long. Also, they have to exert energy to bend over like that. So standing up straight like you see now is the equivalent of us falling asleep and kind of just resting our head. When our head flops down and it's in a relaxed position, it's the same for a giraffe to be standing up. They actually have to flex muscle to start pulling their head down. So it's a lot of energy that they have to use to feed down there. There's also a whole bunch of complications with blood flow. So if they had to feed at the grass level all the time, it would make no sense for them to be as tall as they are, because, like I say, it would make them easy targets for things like lions. So they only feed off of the leaves of the trees, where they can not have to bend down too far. All right, little giraffe, I think we're going to let you go and carry on having your little staring match with the other giraffe, although it's a very one-sided staring match at this stage. We're going to, like I say, carry on, go check treehouse dam, see if anything's happening that side.
Here we are. We are on an expedition. This is the expeditionary force. Behind me, we have seen Tlalamba. We are very excited.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition. And our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
It's either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go.
So I am sitting next to Waterhole Dam, and it looks like there is a whole herd of blue wildebeest that are feeding here in the clearings. And it is such beautiful golden light at the moment, just silhouetting, especially along their manes. So they are definitely very relaxed blue wildebeest. You can see that they are heads down and feeding. And in fact, I haven't actually seen one look up and check for any predators at all. So they're feeling quite safe at the moment. It is the perfect area for them to be feeding, very close to a waterhole. And nice and cool because there's quite a breeze. You can see the grass blowing in front of that wildebeest. Aiden, you're 9 years old and you're asking about animals' manes. So it's actually a very interesting topic. Animals that have manes usually have them for a very specific reason. So for example, a lion that has a big mane, only the male has it where the female doesn't. And that's because the males will fight each other. And they are very, very, very aggressive with those fights. And so it's very important for a lion to be able to protect its vital organs, so its ears, its eyes, its neck, anywhere that claws and teeth can damage a male lion. Because the females don't fight as much, they won't have a mane. It'll be quite similar in animals like these. Wildebeest have a mane, giraffe have a mane down the back. Zebras also have a mane down the back of the neck. And it's got one main purpose and then a few smaller ones. The main purpose is it's really good protection from predators. So you can imagine the first place that a lion is going to go for if it wants to kill something is the neck. And so if you have a little bit of extra layering before you get to the vital parts of the neck, like the windpipe or the arteries in the neck, then that's a little bit of added protection. It also makes them look a little bit bigger than they actually are, so it can be intimidating to other males in terms of territoriality, but it can also be intimidating to some of the predators, like a young, inexperienced lion or a smaller leopard. So it's usually got quite a specific purpose. That's why things like the wildebeest and the zebras in particular have that mane on their necks. You usually also only find it in the bigger animals. You won't find a mane on a smaller animal like a klipspringer or a duiker or a steenbok or an impala. And that's because they rely more on speed to escape predators. With their small size, they can reach higher speeds, and so they don't need to have the mane. where something that's larger is heavier, and so it will run slower and not be able to outrun the predators as easily. It's a very interesting question, and there's a lot of different animals that I could talk about here, but the main difference would be how it interacts with predators. And I think the most interesting is definitely the difference between male and female lions, because they are so big and because the males have the manes and the females don't. And yeah, there's quite a lot of birds that are active, and that's because we're close to the Waterhole. There's quite a few spur fowls around, Egyptian geese, blacksmith lapwings. And Nadia, the most beautiful antelope species to me is probably a Ngala. I think that they are absolutely stunning, and I think that's also got to do with the difference between the males and the females. The males are that striking, beautiful, ashy, dark brown color with that mane and the white markings, and then the red socks up their legs, where the females are that beautiful rust red color with the white stripes. So to me, I think a male Ngala is probably the most beautiful. But there are some that I also think are really stunning, like a little steenbok, I think is incredibly beautiful, very dainty, very elegant, and just, you know, completely different looking to me than a lot of the other antelopes. I would also love to see something like a sitatunga, which you don't actually find here. It basically looks like a foresty, bigger version of the Ngala. I think that would be amazing. Hazel, these are called blue wildebeest. Actually, not because they are blue. You can see it's actually quite brown and grey in color, but it's because at a specific time of the day when the light is just right, it's usually early mornings and late evenings in particular as the sun is setting. If the sun hits their hair properly, because it's actually not the skin that's that color, it's the hair. If it hits the hair properly, they get this gunmetal grey color with a hint of dark blue in the sun specifically. And so that's where the name blue wildebeest comes from. They also look a lot more blue at night than during the day. During the day you can see the dusty color, and at night they look much more blue. So it's not actually because there is anything genuinely blue on them, in comparison to the black wildebeest, which is found in places like the Eastern Cape, which is very clearly more black than the blue wildebeest in all of its features. Wannabe, I think if your name is any indication, I'm sure you'd love to be out here. But yes, we are incredibly lucky to be able to do this every single day. It's definitely my favorite place in the world, is to be out in the bush. And it's something that you should never take for granted. You can't take a single animal or day for granted out here. Even the flowers are mind-blowing. I still sometimes look at my life and wonder how on earth I ended up here, but I'm so happy that I did. It was always the plan, but I didn't know it was going to be a reality. You can actually see the difference on that particular wildebeest as the sun's hitting its mane, kind of down towards the head from just below the shoulder, compared to the tail, which is almost completely in the shade. You can see a very clear difference in color there. And that's actually something predators will use to find other animals. It's something predators will also use to hide from other animals when they're hunting. It's also something we have picked up on and we use if we're going for a walk, for example. You can see it's much more reflective in the sun, so it catches your eye. Anything that's in the sun will reflect light. That includes the clothes that you wear, it includes predators, the gold in their coats, and all the animals, just like this wildebeest's mane. And so if you're wanting to hide properly, then you stick to the shade, because the sun won't reflect off of your clothes and catch your eye. Just like it won't reflect off of a leopard when it's stalking in the shade as opposed to the sun. Right, and speaking of what to do when you're on a bushwalk, I'm going to leave these wildebeest to carry on with their feeding and send you over to Mike, who is on a mission on his bushwalk.
I am looking for creepy crawly things. As you know, I have been obsessed with turning over rocks and seeing what's underneath them. Although this patch of rocks all looks very heavy, I don't know if I'll be able to turn many of these over just to see what's underneath. It wasn't going to work. That was a wrongly shaped rock. But there's another thing which happened here. A little earlier, BK was sitting quietly, and we were all watching the dam, not really paying attention to what BK was doing. And the next thing, he jumped up like a jack-in-the-box. He said, it was a snake. I said, what kind of snake? I don't know. It's a snake. It just came by my feet. So it went this way. So also wondering if maybe I'll dig around in here, we'll find a snake. BK said it was like brownish in color, right? Just plain brown. So many snakes could be plain brown, but I know that we have a couple of Mozambique spitting cobras, which are often seen around the camp area, as well as rock pythons, many spotted bush snakes, a worm slung or two, and possibly even, I don't know, striped-bellied sand snakes. So there's a whole bunch of different snakes. Some are venomous, some are less so, but, you know, none of them really want to hurt us, so as long as we treat them nicely and keep away from them, you know, they're not going to do anything to us. If they feel trapped in any way, threatened, they might. So, for example, me turning over a rock that it's sitting under might not be so great for me or the snake, but, I mean, you've got to be curious, right? What's there? Oh, this rock is very heavy. I'm going to hurt myself, but I need to lift it. I need to lift it. I need to know what's there. Oh, lots of spider webs. No spider, though. No, nothing there for now. Okay, put it down gently, back where it was. Where are the creatures? It's nice and warm, and it's going to be warm tonight. I suspect that around any light sources tonight, there's going to be tons and tons of insects. You know what's a really good thing to do? What you should try at home, if you're into this kind of thing, put up, in the summertime when it's warm, put up a white sheet. You know, dig 2 poles into the ground or 2 sticks, put up a white sheet, attach it there, and shine a light onto that white sheet. And it's incredible how many insects go and are attracted to that sheet and land there. And of course now they want to go to the light. I don't know why insects are attracted to light. Something to do with the sun? I don't know. Anyway, get a magnifying glass, get close to that, and enjoy it, because it's super, super cool.
Certainly a lot of fun to be able to attract insects and study them. I remember that very clearly from my university days. And it's a handy skill to know how to catch insects and observe them on a white sheet. So I'm taking a little bumble around Quarantine at the moment, which is just above Vuyatela Dam, just checking if there's anything in the clearing now that it's cooling off. Animals don't need to hide in the shade anymore. So this is a great area to be moving towards if you're anticipating the sunset. So just like Mike is looking for small creatures, I'm looking for any creatures on a drive. It's definitely one of the more scenic areas that you'll find here. That's because there's just no shortage of massive marula trees. So I can imagine this must be very popular with the elephants in summer when there are marula fruits. Debbie, yes. So the baboons are quite quiet. It actually, I think, depends where you are. Here we do see them. They do come through, and they're very relaxed around the vehicles. But there's not that many baboon troops in this particular area, which is why they would seem naturally more quiet. If you go to somewhere like the self-drive section of the Kruger Park, there are a lot of baboons, and they will let you know that they are there. That's for sure. They have learned how to live alongside humans and use that to their advantage to get food. So you'll definitely hear and see a lot more of them if you're in the self-drive sections, and that often happens because people feed them, which is not what you're supposed to do. So I definitely disagree with that. But yes, people think that it's a great idea to feed baboons to get a photo or to have them come closer, until baboons realize that they can start stealing it then. So yes, it depends where you are. If you go somewhere maybe a little bit further north, you might find that there are much fewer baboon troops than there are, say, in the central and southern parts of the Kruger National Park. If you go to somewhere like Cape Town, there's actually a lot of baboons there, and very similarly they have been fed, unfortunately, and so they're actually very good at monitoring those troops. We know which troops they are, which individuals they are, and they're working on a conservation project there for baboons, but they can also be a little bit intimidating there. I have had my fair share of encounters with baboons with my family on holiday in the southern section of the Kruger Park. Seem to be seeing a lot of leopard logs today. Cameron, borer beetles are fairly common in this area. You can see them especially, well, there are actually a lot of dead trees that you can see the scars on from the borer beetles. But as far as I know, most of the tree damage here has actually been from elephants. But I'll definitely find out if there has been more of a history with the borer beetle. I know that it is getting worse and worse pretty much everywhere at the moment. But majority of the trees here have been affected by elephants, which is a normal part of an elephant's day. But I've definitely seen the feeding scars. I've seen them on quite a few of the fallen trees. I haven't actually noticed any feeding scars on live trees, although I must be honest, I haven't had the best look either. I haven't walked around much while I've been here. As you can tell, Morgan is having a great day on dropping things. That was me yesterday. I spilled a whole cup of coffee over my pants. Alright, so I'm going to carry on down and see what there might be coming up in the next few clearings. I'm hoping there might be some more animals. especially now that it's actually cooled down quite a lot. I don't quite need a jersey yet, but almost. The animals are going to be a little bit more active from now on, and that's pretty normal. Anywhere from 4:30, 5 o'clock onwards, you'll see it kind of changes. Animals are very, very sensitive to temperature changes and to wind changes, things like that. And so it's something that they are affected by every single day and every single season. So I'm actually now on what's called Impala Road. I'm going to go and check Impala Plains, which is the big open area where the wild dogs were the other day. Not that they're signs, but it's always worth checking because they move so fast that you just never know where they're going to pop up. This is also the area where we might find leopards like tortoise pan. This is also the area where we might find Methuselah to my right hand side. So just to kind of show you, let me get to just other side of this tree. I'll show you where we're at the moment. So off to my right hand side there you can see the Drakensberg Mountains. Not very clear today, and that's because there's a lot of dust in the air from the wind that's picked up throughout the day. And then that's also the direction that the Talamati Pride is in at the moment. It would be those 8 that have been sticking together, some of the lionesses and sub-adults, and dark mane. But you never know, they might have turned around and decided to come back this way for whatever reason. So it's always a good area to be checking. How beautiful is that mountain range?
Oh, we've just gotten to Treehouse Dam now. The sun's still a little high for it to be pretty here. When that sun just comes down, maybe another 10 minutes, I would say. And then it gets its really beautiful look. You can just see it's reflecting a little bit off the water surface at the moment. Very quiet here, bar 2 Cape turtle doves that are feeling very frisky behind me and are trying to chase one another around and copulate. But other than that, it's really very quiet. The whole of Djuma is quiet. I mean, there's a couple of giraffe and wildebeest are on quarantine, but other than that, there's no tracks, there's no sign, there's no nothing. I have no idea where Tlalamba is hiding at the moment and why she's being so elusive, but she's really becoming very difficult to find these days. She's always been a tough cat, but there's always been signs of her. Now it just feels like it's derelict in the center part of Djuma. Without Thandi in Tlalamba and Tingana, you know, it's just become pretty difficult to find any sort of sign of the leopards here. Everything that we're seeing is on the boundaries at the moment of Djuma. The central areas along the Mulawati particularly, while it is Tlalamba's territory, is just devoid of anything right now. I think it's just because her territory is so big, it takes her so long to get around and round and round that we're just not seeing a lot of her in the core of it yet. Hopefully having cubs will settle her and she'll start to hang around that central area, much like Thandi did when she was a cub. But this dam is a good place to check, you know. There's Shadulu and Sabui and Tlalamba and Shasha, all of them come past here at times. So, Dami, you're asking if any non-territorial animals hold territory? No, so if they're not territorial, then they have home ranges, which means they utilize areas based off resource. Oh, non-predatory, that hold territory, yeah, there's rhinos hold territory, impalas in the rut will be territorial for a few weeks, mongoose, meerkats, trying to think what else. I'm sure I'm missing a number of them, but yeah, There's a few non-predatory animals that are territorial. But not quite the same. Like rhinos, for example, will not fight. Things like rhinos are actually not as bad as the cats because they will allow some semblance of leeway with bulls that are not trying to actually mate with any females or defecate and scent mark. So if it's dry and like this time of the year, and this waterhole is core to a male's territory, he'll actually allow other territorial males that are adjacent to him to come and drink here as long as they don't show this and display signs of trying to overtake that territory, which is unusual. In cats and predators, you don't see it quite that way. I suppose mongoose are also predators, so you can't really count them, and meerkats either. I'm just trying to think what other animals we've got out here. Oh, steenbok, duiker, they territorial. Certain little rodents. What else? Hippos are territorial to a degree over water, but grazing rights, they're not. I suppose they do fight with one another even out of water. So they would be another one. So yeah, a few different non-predatory animals. It's just the right time of day for something just to emerge and come walking out of those shadows down to this water. Why it feels like it's just a good time to sit here for a little while and just wait and see what happens. There's a lot of potential. It's been a hot afternoon, and you would expect that if anything is around, that it's going to make its way to water. Whether it's here or other water points is obviously the gamble that you take. But it feels like the best time to be sitting at a waterhole just patiently listening, because if something is moving, maybe that'll trigger some alarm calls and we'll be able to pick it up. All right, I'm going to sit here and just be patient for a while. We'll just watch the sunset basically from here. In the meantime, let's send you across to Mike, who's doing very much the same thing.
Certainly such a wonderful experience just to sit at the waterhole. So peaceful. We don't have anything to show you in terms of wildlife at the water, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So please, feel free to send through any questions you like. Don't forget to sign up on the WildEarth Explorers page. You can send your questions through to there, wildearth.tv, or, any kids, youngsters, if you're under 18, kids questions at wildearth.tv. Very cool to have younger viewers watching as well. Olivia, please say, can you ask that question again? Something about how many species? I'm not sure which species exactly. Was it sparrow? How many sparrow species? Oh, spider species. Goodness gracious me, Olivia, that is like hundreds, at least hundreds of species of spiders. I mean, absolutely a huge amount. I mean, I don't even know a quarter of all the species that are occurring here. In fact, there was a viewer who contacted me when we did a segment a few days ago about the spiders on the dung, and they, goodness gracious me, now I've been put on the spot. Now I can't remember the name of that particular spider species, but there are, Olivia, at least hundreds of species of spider. Wolf spider? No, what a wolf spider, gosh. A lot, anyway. Check this out, BK. Look at this grass over here. I was just sitting here a moment ago and I just realized that here, just on the dam wall, not close to water, yes, but this particular patch doesn't have much water. Look at all these green shoots coming out. Isn't that phenomenal? How this Spring is here. Look how they're coming through. Remember, grass is storing its energy in its roots, and it grows from the bottom, not from the tip like most trees do. So this has been patiently waiting for the right amount of sunlight and warmth, and of course any moisture that comes along. And now it's storing the moisture in its roots, so it's able to use some of that to start growing. And I'm sure in the next few weeks we're going to get our first drizzles coming down, and this is just going to explode with life. And this looks like a good quality grass. Nice leafy material here, which is definitely very palatable. You can see something's been feeding on it. Probably a scrub hare, to be honest. There's 2 scrub hares in camp. There used to be just 1. Now there's 2. And they scare the absolute living daylights out of me every morning when I'm walking around in the darkness, as they jump around and freak me out. And they are the ones that are often feeding on this little bit of stuff.
Welcome back to my bumble. I'm actually kind of just bumbling along the central parts. I'm almost doing a bit of a zigzag with the roads that I'm taking. Just looking for anything that might pop up. I did find the lion tracks from this morning, or last night more accurately. And that's the same lion tracks of the Talamatis that crossed over into Arathusa. We're in a beautiful little seep line at the moment. There's a lot of silver cluster leaf trees. And that means that the soil is kind of holding a little bit of water, and it kind of flows underneath, just underneath the surface where the grass grows. And so it's seeping down towards the drainage line. It's a particularly good area for the herbivores and predators. So at the moment, it is definitely looking like it's been a birding day and a giraffe day, maybe an elephant day. But I'm definitely excited to see what the rest of the evening holds, because it seems like it's definitely getting cooler by the minute. I'll also be very interested to see what the Talamati's movements are over the next few days, because it sounds like they are still the kind of lionesses and sub-adults together. So I reckon they are probably going to keep moving quite consistently. I don't imagine they'd want to sit still for too long if the Mbali male has been around. And since the incident, he actually seems like he's quite a bit further north, but you can imagine they're probably quite nervous and not wanting to push too far in that direction. It seems like even the marilla trees are starting to bloom at the moment. A lot of them have very tiny little green leaves. And then the ones that are going to have fruits in December, they've already got tiny little red berries on them. I actually parked under one yesterday and got quite a fright because I got a bit of a shower when the wind picked up. There was all these tiny little baby marula seeds, or fruits I should call them. Before they've matured, they look like little red berries. I'll actually stop at the next marula tree. Hopefully it has some fresh greenery that I can show you. Alright, let me see if I can find a nice marula tree for you on my Bumble.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
I think sometimes you need just to listen. So it's a kind of taking out all that other spirit and bring back wilderness and healthy. Bushwalk and trek and sign. I'm sure I'm good at that. I spend most of my time on the ground since I was a young boy, so I think I'm good with that. Actually, I'm not much nervous of any category. Just take it as it is. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on what the judges are looking at. So chances are 50-50 on my side. I'm not... Obviously, when you go for a competition, you say you win.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So it definitely seems as though this red-crested korhaan is having a very thorough preening session, cleaning all the feathers, making sure they're all straight and orderly, trying to make itself look presentable. So it seems like every now and then when it stops preening, it actually gives a little bit of a call. And it's one of the most distinct calls out here. Very high-pitched whistles in quick succession. And that kind of, I don't know if you can hear it, it's a very faint sound for me, so I'm hoping you can hear it, but it sounds like something tapping in the background every now and then. That's actually what a red-crested korhaan does with its beak as well, to attract attention. Oh, you can't hear it. Well, it sounds kind of like when you snap two books together. It's quite a harsh sound, and they actually snap the top and bottom of the beak together to make like a weird clicking sound, a percussion sound. And that attracts the attention of all the other korhaans in the area. And then it'll start with the high-pitched whistle, and we'll get, there you go, it's starting to whistle. So it's doing these very short bursts of whistling. Normally, what a red-crested korhaan would do is start like that and keep going and get faster and faster and louder, and then it does, the nickname for it is a rocket display. And so the point of it is, being a ground bird, you want to show the other birds where you are, the other red-crested korhaans. And so it'll call and call and call. All the other korhaans will look towards that direction where the bird is. And then it'll fly straight up into the air, very, very high, 2 or 3 stories high. And then just fold its wings in and free fall back down as though it's had a heart attack mid-flight and it's just dropping dead. And as it's about to hit the floor, it spreads its wings and very elegantly lands in its rocket display. Paisley, yes, birds do actually feed off of elephant dung, especially things like hornbills. Red-billed and yellow-billed hornbills will search through elephant dung because elephants aren't actually very good at digestion. Only about 30% of what they eat actually gets digested. The rest comes out almost completely whole. And so there'll be a lot of insects in there that they've accidentally taken in with the plants. There'll also be a lot of things like completely untouched marula fruits and other berries and things like that that they'd be eating out here. So it's actually very common for birds and squirrels as well to go and sort through elephant dung and look for all of those tasty little treats. Trying to think which other birds I've seen doing it. There's actually quite a few, although I seem to have hit a blank on which ones. Alright, so I think I'm going to leave this red-crested korhaan. It's definitely enjoying its afternoon preening session. And I'm going to carry on with my bumble and see what else I can find. And there it's calling again. So it is something a little bit strange with the red-crested korhaan. They do tend to get a lot more active with their calls if there is somebody around. So for example, if you switch the vehicle on when you're close to a red-crested korhaan, it usually means that they're going to call. I can now feel that the temperature has dropped a lot now that I'm out of the direct sun. Alright, so I'm going to carry on with my bumble, see what else I can find in the central parts, and send you back to Tristan, who is still at the dam. We are having some signal issues today, it seems, some technical difficulties. I apologize. So from the tracks of where the lions were, it seems like they moved quite a distance through the night last night before they crossed over into Arathusa. Very interesting. The most similar species to humans socially. Kai, that is a very difficult question, actually. I would say, probably probably the ape family and the baboons. So things like gorillas, chimpanzees, chacma baboons, vervet monkeys are very, very similar to us. Socially, though, I think it depends on on what your definition of social is, or which branch of social side. So is it just in terms of, you know, wanting the company? Is it in terms of maybe I don't know, mating habits? That would be slightly different as well, person to person. I would probably go with the baboons and the apes, though. They are incredibly closely related to us, and so they tend to have similar traits to us in a lot of ways. And socially, you'll see baboons and apes having a lot of fun, where a lot of the other animals you won't. You'll see them chasing and playing each other, and yeah, it's just interesting and different. So I can actually see a clear difference at the moment where the light is hitting the vegetation. It looks like, you know, very, very golden light right at the tops of the trees, and very shaded light down at the bottom. Alright, so while I continue, I'm going to send you over to Mike, who has something interesting coming down to the water.
We can't see it now, but our camp hyena, which always steals people's shoes, people's bags, and basically anything it can get its jaws onto, is just arriving at the camp now. It's behind this big green bush, so we can't see it at the moment, but I think it will come and have a drink. If not, it will make its way directly into the camp and terrorize whoever's already in the camp. So just bear with us a moment. There it comes, just to the left of that bush. Oh, you see it there, BK? Oh, it's so difficult to see. Oh, it's moving. See that big leadwood there, BK? Oh, you've got it. Oh, sweet.
You can see it.
It's very difficult to see, but that hyena has been affectionately named Scully by our students around camp. Oh, and it's changed direction. Is it going to come to the water? Oh, it's found something. Oh, it's coming back towards the water. Yes, come on. Come on, Scully. So this is our little floofy hyena. It was such a tiny little cub when it first arrived in our camp. And it's basically learned that it has learned that students never learn. And they always leave stuff lying around, no matter how many times we tell them to make sure they've got their bags and books and paperworks and shoes all in safe places. So he's just being a little shy at the moment. But I tell you what, he's not shy. Once the sun goes down... Oh, there he is. He's on the far left. Did you see him? Oh, he's going directly to the camp. Oh, Scully. No, we're not supposed to like it when animals come into our camp. We're supposed to stop them from coming in. But what are we going to do? I mean, he's so cute, though. He's just so cute. So he's just moving into the camp now, and we can't really move from this spot. Our signal is getting a bit low, but I'm glad that we got a quick glimpse of him before he disappeared. And the sun is disappearing now as well, so we're going to have to disappear. I've used disappear too many times in a sentence now, but we're going to have to go because the sun is now set. But cool, Scully's in camp. So hopefully I'm going to have to go and warn the students and everyone in the camp now that he's back. He disappeared for a long time, and we thought maybe he'd learnt or he'd grown up, but apparently not. Fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed today. We here at Pridelands are going to be making our way back towards our vehicle and heading back towards camp. But Tessa and the rest of the team will still be out. So please don't go anywhere, and there's more exciting stuff to come.
Right, so welcome to some beautiful scenery here at Djuma. The sun has just set behind the crest behind me, and so you can see it's throwing some beautiful light, particularly on one of the taller trees here. And you can see how straight off back into the distance the light is fading very, very quickly. So it is the perfect time of day for a predator to be out and about. There are quite a number of birds calling at the moment, so I think they're getting ready for their dusk chorus, advertising where they're going to be for the night. But this golden light is one of the best times to be out in the bush. And now that the temperature has dropped while we're in the shade, it's just so beautiful out. So what I'm really hoping for is that while I continue this evening, we're going to bump into quite a few animals on the way. There's actually not a breath of wind at the moment, so it is absolutely perfect out. Probably the nicest temperature it's been in days, and I'm sure the animals and birds are feeling the same. So that color that you can see on the horizon, that purplish that's just kind of rising up against the horizon, these types of colors are really where my taste comes from in terms of favorite colors. It's just stunning out here. What a blessing it is to be able to do this. So you can see the light is fading very quickly at this point. And I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful this evening. There's not a breath of wind. And I think tonight is actually going to be one of the warmer nights that we've had in about a week. Because the predators are so sensitive to changes in temperature and wind, I think it's a very good sign. I'm feeling lucky. Very, very lucky. So I just wanted to kind of sit here and take in the scenery a little bit. It's a great chance for me to be listening out for alarm calls, looking for movement, but also just appreciating where I am. Appreciating the magic of all of this around me. So that's definitely one of the most characteristic things for me in an African sunset, although the sun has already gone down behind me, is having any form of dead leadwood or knobthorn tree that sticks out. Just makes it for me. It's just absolutely beautiful to see that over the skyline. Listen to all of the birds calling, advertising where they are going to be for the night. There really are a lot of birds out tonight. I'm actually trying to count the different number of bird calls that I've heard just in the last little while. There are actually so many and so many at the same time that I'm struggling to keep track. Probably the starlings are the most distinct because they're almost right next to me. For anyone that's been on safari or enjoys watching, I'd love to know when your favorite time of the day is out in the bush. I'd love to see if it compares to mine, because mine is definitely as the golden light is setting in the morning and just as the sun has set in the evening.
Joyce would like to know which is the oldest tree in the area.
Joyce, I have absolutely no idea what the oldest tree in the area is, and neither does Morgan, unfortunately. Yeah, so I have no idea. I've only been here for a week, and there are a lot of very old trees, so I would have no idea which one is the oldest. But if I find out, I'll let you know. I'll be sure to ask Tristan later. He might know.
I will have to ask Tristan.
But look how the light is changing. Isn't that absolutely stunning? So if anyone ever wanted to know what my favorite color is, it's that purple you can see just above the tree line. For very obvious reasons. I think it's actually just more memorable than anything from the many years of going on safari with my family on self-drives. I actually wonder how many leopards there are in this area at the moment. Because if you look at that kind of habitat that we're in with the woodland, with a lot of trees, it's the perfect area.
I'm guessing HK means Hong Kong, but Joe would like to know, are insects territorial?
Joe, that's a brilliant question. You're from Hong Kong, I think, HK. Are insects territorial? Some of them are. I think it just depends on the type of insect. Something like an antlion, which actually digs itself a little hole, would be territorial about that hole. But most insects fly, and so they'd move around so quickly that they wouldn't necessarily be territorial. Termites definitely are. They defend their termite mound very, very seriously. So it's a very serious and interesting question, and you'd have to look at individual insects to get the answer. But I think I'm going to just appreciate these color changes for a little while longer, and we'll see what happens as the evening goes on.
Well, those cute little black and white birds are going to be a treat to watch over the next little bit. As you can see, we're still sitting at Treehouse Dam. I'm just admiring the last of the sun's rays. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the sunset because Rusty had a wobble. So we had to just get old tech genius Marcel out here to come and fix things. So he's just managed to get Rusty back up and running. And so we're just still at the Waterhole, just waiting to see what will happen. So far nothing's come down, as has been the case for Treehouse Dam over the last couple days. I've come here faithfully every day to check for hope that something will pop out, but alas, I've been rewarded with very little over the times that I've been here, and today just felt like the perfect day to be here. I was sure that we were going to get something coming down, whether it be a Ngala or an impala, or even maybe a slender mongoose. But alas, nothing. Just reflections and, well, a pretty average sunset, if I'm honest. It doesn't even come close to what we can get out here. The coloration this evening is not good. So it's all been a little disappointing and flat, unfortunately. But it's okay. It's the way it goes sometimes. You've got to risk it, and every now and then you get it right and something comes out, and other times it's just quiet like it is now. I know Tessa was doing a lovely silent segment just now, listening to the sounds of the natural bush, looking at the belt of Venus and the coloration that was coming up over the eastern boundary of our area, which is always nice. In fact, this evening, the east has got far more color than the west. You know, normally in the evenings, the west is where all the color comes from because that's where the sun sets. But today, it's most certainly the eastern side that is looking colorful. So I think Tessa maybe has won today. I certainly don't have much to show for the afternoon. But what I think what we're going to do is we're going to probably leave here just now and head kind of to the west and see if maybe we get lucky with something coming out. Now, sorry, Gwen, I did not catch the name. I got the question. Is there any parts of my job that I don't like? But I didn't get the name. So if you can just repeat that for me. Gucci Gumi, is that what you got? Okay, wonderful. It's a mouthful, that one. Parts of the job I don't like. Getting soggy underpants in the rain. That's never fun. No, in all seriousness, there are a few. It's a thankless task sometimes, and it's a job where you give a lot of yourself and often receive very little back. In what I mean by that is that every day that you're out here, and not so much on WildEarth, because we have a situation where we drive around a cameraman mostly, and you guys watching at home, and that's a little bit different to being with guests. But as a guide, when you drive guests, you give a lot of yourself, and you give a lot of your energy and your passion and your time, and you want people to have the most amazing holiday and experience on safari. And what that means is that often it's all about the guest, and very seldom you feel like there's a return in that. Sometimes there is. Some guests are amazing, and they respond, and you have this kind of incredible experience where you become lifelong friends. But one of the hard parts is that it's difficult balance that, and you sometimes feel like your energy is always going in one direction. So for me, that's often a tough part. Like I know after a few weeks that I can feel myself getting tired, then it starts to wane a little bit. So that's one thing. And then the other really kind of hard parts about being a guide is the lack of time with family and loved ones. You know, you end up in a situation where, and obviously again our situation here is a little different at the moment because we freelance, but back in the day and in lodges and even here, you'd work 6 weeks on with only 2 weeks off, and that would mean that, you know, you miss birthdays, you miss Christmases, you miss important events, you miss funerals of loved ones, and those are hard things to go through. It's very difficult when you sit here and you realize that you know, you're missing out on those things. So, you know, I think that's, for me, has always been the hardest part. I know that for both my grandmothers, I wasn't at their funerals because I was at work, which, you know, is not an easy thing to go through. So those are hard parts. But in all of that, what we do and the ability to educate people and to bring people into a place like this and show them and try and kind of instill some sort of passion in them for wildlife as well as Africa, it often far outweighs all of the negatives. So as much as we're talking about negative sides of things, the positives outweigh it. And for those people out here that see it that way, they're the ones that last and spend time out here for long periods and for many, many years. The ones that can't get around that are the ones that often leave pretty early on. So yeah, in the guiding kind of community, you often have young guides that are a year, 2 years, 3 years in, and they depart because of whatever reasons it is. And then you get the guides that will do the, you know, 15, 20, 30 years, because, well, everything that's bad never outweighs what is good. So yeah. Like I say, it's a bit of a loaded question. It's a difficult one because, you know, no one wants to talk about the tough sides of the job, because it often comes across as somebody complaining or somebody feeling like they, you know, are grumbling, and they shouldn't always. But the reality is that there is never a perfect job and there's never always easy times. Everything that we do in life, whether it be a job or anything else, is going to have ups and downs, and it's going to have hard periods. And so, you know, the negative sides of it is either you can live with it or you can't. And if you can't, well, then you find something else. But if you can, it can be one of the most rewarding jobs in the world. You can get a situation where you'll experience things and see things and meet people from all aspects of life that will teach you all about yourself as well as all about culture, you know, race, everything. And that's a special thing. In the modern world, you know, we have an ability to travel a lot and we get to go places. And I think when you get to a point where you can start to understand the world and start to understand people from all different creeds and places, then you're far better off. Excuse me. All right, we're going to probably sit a little bit longer, there's hyena calling, and just see if anything else pops down, and then we'll probably move off after that and go and check the western boundary, see if we get any luck.
As WildEarth has shown, a guide is critical to your enjoyment when on safari. Safari Guide of the Year is an annual event which creates awareness for these men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. WildEarth fully supports this initiative that gives more credit to a profession that drives our economy and flies South African flags higher than most. In the lead up to our live award ceremony, where the Safari Guide of the Year 2021 will be crowned, we are inviting all our viewers to join us for a special fireside chat. Open to everyone, this unique event invites some of the top guides in the country to Djuma on the 26th of September, straight after the Sunset Safari.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kuru, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala! There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
So I've actually just heard some Franklin's alarm calling. And so I'm just sitting watching for a minute just to see if anything comes out. I am close to a drainage line, and so I'm wondering if it's not the time that the animals, particularly the predators, have started moving. You can see the light has dropped a lot where we are. So I'm actually just hoping that this is that lucky feeling I've had all afternoon. Here you can hear some birds sounding a bit upset again. It's definitely a good time for leopards to start moving, and hyenas as well. The temperature has dropped. And I'm wondering if that's not because it heard the alarm calling. There were also some starlings that were flitting around here, and they seem to have disappeared very quickly. You can hear there's a lot of bird activity. I feel like I'm going to bump into a leopard. Maya, you want to know why leopards are normally alone and not in a pack? So it's actually because with their size, leopards can take down smaller prey quite easily. So things like impalas, steenbok, duiker, they don't need a pack to hunt. And a pack would draw attention as well. So things like lions will be looking for other predators. It's competition in the same area. So leopards very early on adapted to being completely on their own. And that's got a lot to do with that competition between predators. For a leopard to be able to pull something up a tree, to be able to hunt on your own, it means you can be inconspicuous. And that is the style of a leopard. It's very, very well camouflaged. It's very, very versatile in what it can do. And so for leopards, it just makes more sense to be on your own, as opposed to something bigger like lions. They need help taking things down because they're slower. And because they are the super predator, it means that they also have that competition from things like hyenas, and so for them a pack or a pride is better. So definitely when you have something smaller that can be inconspicuous, it's better to be inconspicuous. It's very similar with things like impalas versus steenbok. Impalas are bigger, they're a much preferred prey species for most of the predators, and so they'll be in a pack or a family, as opposed to a steenbok, which is smaller and faster, and it can be very inconspicuous. And so it makes more sense not to draw attention and to just stick it out on your own or in a pair, as opposed to that really big group. You can imagine if there was a pack of leopards walking around, there'd be tracks everywhere, there'd be a lot of movement, a lot of noise, and so that in itself would attract negative attention. And that's something that leopards don't want. In fact, leopards being on their own is one of the reasons why they have managed to be successful in so many different areas. So for example, you won't just find leopards here, you'll find them in, or a different variation in India. You'll find a different variation, well, the jaguars as well, but you'll also find them scattered throughout Africa and South Africa. Right, we are switching over into infrared because the light has dropped. But back to the leopard conversation, you'll find leopards in Cape Town, you'll find leopards in the Eastern Cape, even in places like Nahoon in East London. So leopards are very versatile, and part of the reason for that is because they can be on their own and survive so well. So in terms of overall adaptability, the leopard is actually the most successful of the cats. And in terms of distribution as well, the leopard you'll find pretty much everywhere. You won't even know that there's a leopard close to the town that you're living in, and yet there might be many. So leopards are incredibly successful. I think I relate more to a leopard than a lion. If I was an animal and a predator, I don't think I'd want to be a lion, as much as it is amazing to have those social bonds. I think I definitely gravitate more towards being a leopard. Alright, so I think what I am going to do, Morgan's just finishing attaching the infrared light. As soon as he's done that, I'm actually going to carry on to see what else we can find. I do still have that very lucky feeling, so I do feel like I'm about to bump into a leopard. We will see how that goes though. I might be completely wrong.
I'll finish screens online.
Brilliant. Alright, Morgan is going to finish while I am busy driving. He'll finish attaching the light. Bumpy, bumpy, bumpy. Good old Wendy. So it is definitely the first night that I have not had to wear my jacket. Atticus, which endangered animal should get more attention? That is a very big question. I feel like pangolins have got quite a bit of attention. I feel like rhinos definitely have a lot of attention, so do wild dogs and cheetahs. So maybe something more unexpected to a lot of people. Vultures are very, very highly endangered. They are actually at risk of extinction, and I don't think people talk about that enough. What else? A lot of the smaller animals as well, so I don't think a lot of people know this, but with climate change, a lot of the frog species have actually, well, quite a few have gone extinct already, and quite a few of them are going extinct very fast, and that's because there's very, very small changes in the temperature, and frogs can struggle to adapt to those temperature changes. Alright, so I just want to have another listen here. I know we haven't gone very far, but I do want to just have a listen. Oh. There we go. The camera had a little bit of a freak out. I did hear some, it sounded like starlings almost, alarm calling. Driving on the edge of the drainage line, so very possible that there might be a predator around, and there were, I did hear a hyena earlier. There were signs of movement. Alright, so I think I'm going to carry on and see what else this evening has to offer. That lucky feeling has got to come up. Alright, so I had a little listen. It didn't sound like there was very much happening. So I'm going to keep going. Putting on my lights because it's now gotten to that point, and I'm very excited. I have that excited childlike feeling as though I'm about to bump into something. It's amazing how we've had about a week of weather that I would say is whiplash worthy in terms of kind of the changes. It's amazing how with a calm evening like tonight, things are already feeling a little bit different. The birds are more active. There's a lot more tracks on the road tonight than there were the last few days. And that's all because of these small little changes in temperature. It affects everything from insects right the way up through to lions, leopards, elephants, wild dogs. So it's definitely noticeable out here. Right, so I'm taking it nice and slow, particularly because it is so perfect out at the moment and because I've got the drainage line right here. So I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And it's always better to go slow in the bush than it is to go fast because there's so many things you could miss. I'd actually love to see even another owl tonight, maybe just an owl out prowling around for food. But I think either way, there's a lot of promise in tonight. Wish me luck. Right, so I definitely hope that I am just a corner's turn away from bumping into a predator. I'm actually now checking the southern side of Djuma, so the southern boundary. And I'm doing that for a very specific reason, because I know that this is a very, very good area for leopards, and this is one of the main roads that they cross when they are moving from property to property. Because of the fire break, I know there have been a lot more things like steenbok and smaller animals in here as well. And so that is really what I'm hoping is going to draw them in towards the drainage lines and even the water holes overnight. I am 100% enjoying the fact that I don't have to wear a jacket. Nari, yes, I have seen some very big snakes while out and about driving. Mostly things like African rock pythons, as well as very large black mambas. I haven't been lucky enough to see one yet here at Djuma, but when I was at Ngala, I saw quite a number of snakes, from very small puff adders to right the way through to 3-meter pythons. So snakes are definitely one of my bigger interests. I really, really enjoy any time, corrugations in the road, any time spent with snakes. I think they're very underestimated. Now that I'm heading down a dip, I know you can't feel it, but I'm hoping you can sympathize with me. It is getting much colder now that I'm coming down to a dip. You can see why it's so attractive to elephants down there. There are still a lot of birds calling for after dark. Again, the warm weather. Very useful. Welcome back. I'm so sorry, we seem to be experiencing a few tech issues at the moment, but luckily we are back. So I was actually busy answering a question about meerkats and whether or not we get meerkats here or whether they're shy. And meerkats are actually not found in this area. So in this area, the kind of similar species would be something like a dwarf mongoose, a slender mongoose. Meerkats are actually found in drier, flatter areas, so places like the Kalahari Desert or Namibia. I think you do get them in Botswana sometimes, but you also get them down in the Eastern Cape where I'm from. Meerkats actually are not very shy. They are very, I want to say, adorable in temperament. They are super curious, and once they get used to you, they have absolutely no shyness in them at all. They'll walk around, they'll move around chatting away with each other as they go while they are feeding, looking for scorpions and beetles and lizards and all sorts of yummy things to eat. definitely warming up again a little bit now that we've left the dip. Jay, actually yes, there are some trees here that are dangerous to animals. The most prominent one that I can think of is probably a tamboti tree, which is actually poisonous. It's poisonous to us as well. There are very few animals that can feed on the tamboti tree successfully. One of them is actually the black rhino. Most other animals would not be able to tolerate ingesting that. They would actually die. So it is probably the most dangerous tree that we have out here for animals in particular. Oh, I can feel that cold again. I know I'm headed to a drainage line. Right, I'm hoping I don't lose signal going through this, but if I do, please bear with me. I'll still be here. Okay, I'm not exaggerating when I say I think it just dropped 5 degrees Celsius minimum. I think it may have dropped more than that, just in that little dip. Ooh, bumpy, bumpy, bumpy. Right, so I'm definitely going to continue with this little bumble. I'm hoping that it brings me some good luck and that I bump into something amazing, even if it's just an owl.
Free diving is the purest way to experience the great African sea forest. Silently gliding through the long kelp fronds allows you to reconnect with nature and explore this enchanted world. Sea Forest is a brand new daily experience coming soon on the WildEarth channel. You will explore an underwater forest live from Cape Town, while a team of naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, sharks, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
Here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Are now doing the Hades hop, where they have to run back and forth to a target, turn, take aim, and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
As you can see, we've kind of made it onto quarantine. It's dark at the moment, unfortunately. There's some impalas there. Rusty is being an absolute brat at the moment. It won't work unless I'm sitting still. So we've been trying to just find something that we can help Tessa out. So I'm pretty sure all you guys will be seeing is 3 little light spots shining in a complete black screen, which I apologize profusely about, but the reality is we don't really have another ability to do anything. Like I say, if I move slightly, then the whole car shuts off. Well, not the car itself mechanically, but signal-wise, it doesn't want to work. So here's what it is, and poor Tessa has been holding the fort for the last half an hour. So we thought we'd just give her a little bit of a break and just let her kind of take it easy for a while. You know, it can be tough to speak for that long. People don't understand often how difficult this can be. You know, when you're on a game drive with guests, we're talking about hard parts of guiding. In WildEarth, and being a guide on WildEarth is a very different thing to guiding guests. The hard part about this is entertaining yourself and a blank piece of glass. You have zero feedback from the camera, so it's not easy when you get thrown in the deep end and you have to do long pieces on your own. So like we call them solos. But yeah, that can make life quite tricky. It's something that takes a while to get used to. I remember that I had to do a couple long drives by myself, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes even. But those solos and those times where you have that, you grow exponentially in this particular job, because you learn very quickly that all of you watching are very forgiving and also are always up to rising to the challenge. And so whenever I've had times where there's been no other feeds, all of you have become so wonderful in the fact that you ask a lot of questions and generally keep us going. And so, you know, you get through it and hopefully the animals play ball. I've been fortunate in a number of my solo ones that I've managed to find something that appeals to me and therefore makes for an entertaining couple of hours. But yeah, so like I say, I sympathize when somebody is kind of on their own. It's always good to try and help out where you can. But these glowing eyes that you're seeing there is just the herds moving on to quarantine for the night time. As it's gotten dark and night is closed in, so these animals have to find some sort of shelter and some sort of place of safety. When you have clearings, you have safety in that, because it's very difficult, even though it looks really dark now and all you can see is 2 eyes sort of peering out of the black. This particular area, and with the moon that's going to rise in about 2 hours time, it's going to be really bright, and it's going to be very, 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 very difficult for any animal to make its way towards these impalas without being seen. So you combine kind of light with open clearing with multiple eyes in a herd animal like impalas, and the ability to stay safe is far better than one would realize. Sorry, I just want to check in front of me. There seems to be something moving.
Dave from Shelley.
Karen, no hedgehogs here in this particular reserve. Only porcupines. So sorry, my radio, the guys are talking nonsense about lions way in the north. So yeah, only porcupines here, no hedgehogs. But we do get hedgehogs in South Africa. Caroline, I don't know if you live in South Africa or you don't, but we do get hedgehogs out here. They're a pretty cool little animal, as a lot of you would know. They're something that is quite cute with their little spikes and their cute little faces. But I'm sad we don't get them here. In fact, we actually, you know where we do get them is we get them in the Mara. So hedgehogs used to be a feature of the Mara camp. Every now and then we would get them coming through. So for those of you that are part of the expeditions in the Mara, there's an opportunity next year to go out there. So yeah, maybe you'll see a hedgehog out that way if you go there. Anyway, it's that time where we need to say goodbye to all of you. I hope that you've had a good evening. I'm sorry that we didn't find very much from our side. We've been hoping and wanting to find lots of interesting things. I mean, we did find Tavangumi, I suppose, but he was just in a bad spot, which happens sometimes. It's the way the rubber, the green goes. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to be better and find all the things that you need. Anyway, from all of us, it's that time to say good night. I hope wherever you are that you have a good day and evening further, and we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. From all of us, it's been a big pleasure, and we'll see you on our sunrise safari.